Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and tonight we are analyzing, in a logical fashion, one of the most anticipated flat earth debates ever in recent history. That is, of course, the one and only Austin Witsit, the Michael Jordan of debate. And I'm not limiting this to flat earth debate. The Michael Jordan of all debate, Austin Witsit, takes on a guy I never heard of. Harrison H. Smith of InfoWars. And yeah, this is an interesting one, folks. I mean, we're going to have to fasten our seatbelts for this one because it might be a doozy. So, in typical MINDSHOCK fashion, we will dissect this. The new format on MINDSHOCK, as I explained on the previous logical analyses, in order to get these out quicker, I mean, tweaking the new logical analysis systems, shout out to all the MINDSHOCK listeners that helped me develop it, with the new scoring metrics. That takes a while to apply to video, like a week, could be over a week. So I'm going to do a run-through logical analysis where I'm just going to tackle all of this. And because, I mean, I'm sure that this one's going to get the new system treatment, but some of the requested analyses, they're not that great. So there's no reason to put in the time and effort and put the new system on it. This one obviously will get that, but I wanted to do this one as soon as possible just because everybody's talking about it and it's fresh in mind, and then I could also get the input of all the listeners as we dissect it. As always, if you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, as this so-called debate might illustrate as well, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Patreons do get priority for case topic logical analysis, co-podcaster requests. You could also be a guest in the podcast depending on your tier. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section, or if you're live in the chat right there. So, without further ado, let's dive right in here. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit more ado. So I tried to find video clips of Harrison Smith because I know nothing about this guy, just for a brief psychological analysis on him. He appears to just parrot most of what's on InfoWars. Now, he does appear to be bargain basement InfoWars. I mean, you have obviously Alex Jones, the face of the company. You have Owen Schroyer, which is, I mean, you know, he's half decent. And then you have Harrison H. Smith. I mean, this guy seems to be quite high on the soy level. Again, doesn't mean he's wrong about anything. Doesn't mean he can't be on point in many, many different things. But you can already see just from the thumbnail here, this is a guy who might be a product of the trophy generation. And I don't know how old this guy is. I tried to find it. I mean, he doesn't look that old. I mean, obviously, Witsit's not that old, but he's a savant. Harrison H. Smith just seems to regurgitate most information on InfoWars, which, again, I'm not saying is untrue regarding corruption exposing and all of that stuff. But in terms of unique analysis or a unique voice, I haven't really been able to find anything that Harrison H. Smith brings to the table that is unique. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see. So if Run Boston Bear in the chat, the mic is a tad distorted. Can everybody else hear me clearly? Everything clear and all set? Welcome to all of the MINDSHOCK listeners, the usuals. Okay. Other people saying it's fine. Okay. So let's get started. Oh man, full disclosure, I listened to bits and pieces. I actually didn't have time earlier today to listen to the entire thing. So most of this analysis will be blind on my end, which a lot of people actually prefer. Okay, so let's get started. Make sure everything is all set here. The next couple weeks will be big. I don't know what was going on with YouTube the past few days. It wouldn't let me, it was glitching out like crazy on the live streams. So, and for people that are new to this debate, just keep that in mind, people in the chat, where, some people only aren't that interested in either flat earth debates or other types of debates. They're only watching this for the logical take of analysis itself. And just keep that in mind where, I guess we should have a no spoilers in terms of what's going to be brought up later or how. So if we could focus on everything as we go through it, I think that would be the best way to do it.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the American Journal. I'm your host, Harrison Smith. My guest and opponent today is Austin Witsit. He is a flat earther. He's our guest today who's going to be debating on behalf of flat earth theory. If you want to know more about Austin or flat earth theory, you can follow him on X at WitsitGetsit or by going to witsitgetsit.com. Austin Witsit, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on. How's it going, brother?
Pretty good. And so about a month ago, InfoWars Twitter account put out a question: who do you want to see Harrison Smith debate? And your name was by, far and away the most popular response.
How old is Harrison H. Smith? Again, he just talks like such a kid. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I don't know. Is this the bargain basement of InfoWars, where they want to get more of a younger audience? And so they hire guys like Harrison H. Smith just to bring in the young crowd by virtue of being young. I mean, if you had to guess this guy's testosterone levels, I mean, I wouldn't say they're high at all. Just the manner of speaking. Again, for the goofs that think this is a poisoning the well fallacy, I'm not claiming Harrison H. Smith is wrong about anything. We're just analyzing the psychology here before we get started on the pure logic.
Why is that? Why is there this hunger for the flat earth debate, but for you in particular, do you think?
I think I've done pretty well in the debates, and typically the opponents are not all that worthy.
Wow. Austin's such a nice guy. That was one of the nicest ways to put it. Wow. I mean, let's put it bluntly. Austin Witsit debates mental midgets. I mean, let's just call it how it is.
Humbly. They're just not typically as informed. So I think that, especially with InfoWars, there's a huge crossover, right? They just want to see the position accurately represented on kind of the big stage, if you were. So I think that's probably more what it is. I think a bunch of people think I'll accurately represent what we think.
Well, and obviously there's been a lot of comments I've seen saying either this won't happen because InfoWars is controlled, or I don't know, all sorts of.
Yeah, Sam Pedro in the chat saying Harrison claimed to have watched a lot of Austin's stuff before this debate. Not just Austin stuff, but I caught the clip where he was talking about how he's done research, whatever that means. And it's kind of the same story with a lot of these debaters, those representing the heliocentric globe position. They get everybody's hopes up. See, that's why my hopes weren't really up for this one, because just because of how many times this has already happened, where seemingly intelligent people, or semi-intelligent, or I don't know if Harrison H. Smith is intelligent at all, but either way, they claim they've at least done a lot of research and they're familiar with the arguments. I mean, which any person should be if they're entering a debate on a particular subject. Now, obviously, the bigger problem is if he doesn't even understand what logic is. If he can't define logic, I mean, that's a bigger issue if he doesn't know what logical fallacies are, because then he shouldn't be debating any topic on regarding anything. just in terms of debate. But when you're, obviously those are just basics you need to have to debate anything on any topic. Now, the bigger issue, obviously, is if he doesn't even know the points that Austin's going to bring up. Now, if he's a logical individual, it actually wouldn't even matter if he did zero research. Because if he's objective, logical, and neutral, and understands basic logic, the scientific method, etc., basic psychology, even if he had done zero research, he would still be able to argue in a logical way. Now, obviously, most of these people are not logical, and furthermore, they also didn't do any research and are not familiar with the argument, so...
Speculation about why InfoWars doesn't cover flat Earth theory. But let me just ask you, because we got a little first 5-minute segment, and then we're going to have two 23, 25-minute segments to close out this hour. We're doing minimal commercial breaks here. We are on the radio, so we have to take some, but we're going to take them minimally. So in the first 5 minutes, I just wanted to introduce you and sort of talk about the idea and everything. How did you get into flat Earth in the first place?
Yeah, so similar to what a lot of people say. So you have the side that says InfoWars is controlled opposition. They won't talk about flat Earth. And then you have the side that says it's a CIA psyop used to distract people. I had a similar response. It's funny, actually. I heard about it through the rapper B.O.B.
Right.
So he was dropping the Elements mixtapes, and he was basically 100% on point with all the conspiracy theories he was mentioning in the mixtapes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had researched all of them. Then he said the Earth was flat, and I was like, wow, bro, you just made me look ridiculous to everyone I was telling to listen to you, right? And then, like, similar to most people, I had the initial reaction of, what does that even mean? And then you start to just ask 1,000 questions of, well, how would this work on flat Earth? Well, how would that work? That doesn't even make sense to me. So then I just went to look up pictures of the Earth from space. I'm like, this is going to be easy. I have millions of pictures. And that was not the case. This was 2015, and the last claimed picture to even be real at that time was 1972, for the Apollo missions. And needless to say, I was already very skeptical of the Apollo missions. So immediately I thought, okay, well, there may be something here, right? Which there should be millions of real pictures. I should have live HD live streams of the Earth from space. So that's how it started. And then I kind of fell down the rabbit hole. And I think this is an important part of it all as well. You'll instinctively just say, well, how would eclipses work? How does this work? How does that work? And if you can't find an answer, you think, oh, well, then it can't be flat. The actual way you have to go about it,
which is obviously false dichotomy, logical fallacy. I mean, that's textbook false dichotomy.
And this is why all flat earthers exist, is they went to disprove flat Earth, and more so they went to prove the globe. And then when you look for the actual, evidence that supports the claimed size of the globe, you've run into problems, right? And so if we falsify the globe, we don't really need to replace it, or it remains true. So that's pretty much my like really succinct journey through this. Is I just went to look for evidence of the globe. I went and made observations myself.
You gotta hand it to InfoWars. They do have snazzy editing. Look at those snazzy clips they've put up.
It just didn't stack up. And needless to say, like years later, it just gets worse and worse. And, I can assure the audience, flat Earth is going nowhere because of the lack of evidence. So, that's kind of my journey really quickly.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting, and we'll get into the actual debate portion here on the other side. It's sort of the first debate we've held, so it'll be interesting, but I guarantee it'll be fun. And let me mention, today's debate is brought to you by Brain.
So, on just the interesting part here, obviously, is that they even allowed Austin on. Because... 1 second. What's going on with the audio here?
Witsit, Austin Witsit, can be found on X at Witsit Gets It, and as well.
Because normally they just, nobody wants to engage with Witsit. It's like, people are saying, "Oh, I'm better than Michael Jordan. We'll play him." No. We don't have to actually play. But obviously, I'm better. That's what a lot of goofs, their position is, particularly authority worshiping cultists. Now, what's interesting here is that Harrison H. Smith does not appear to be an authority-worshipping cultist. I mean, he's literally a host for InfoWars. I mean, so it seems like he's not an authority-worshipping cultist, so it will be interesting to see where he draws arguments from. Obviously, my main concern, as with most debates, is whether or not there's a, Logic 101 is understood, which is why I think all debates should just start with, a 5-minute segment. What is logic? What is a logical fallacy? What is the scientific method? Just pure basics. Because in 99.99999% of all debates on all topics, people don't know, at least one party, if not both, do not comprehend these things.
Website witsitgetsit.com, where he talks flat earth as well as a number of other conspiracies. And so I figured the way that we would do this, I've seen other online debates do it, where both sides will take about a 10-minute opening statement to state their stances, if you need all 10 minutes or not. And Austin and I talked during the break, and we decided I'll go first, then Austin will get 10 minutes to respond. That sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Okay. So I'll just go ahead and begin. I want to start with sort of 3 preconditions from my perspective, what I'm bringing into this debate. First of all, I do not care if people believe in flat earth. I have absolutely no stake in the matter. I don't think people that believe in flat earth are stupid. I don't think that, I understand the impulse. I understand the questioning of institutions. I get all of that.
Okay, well, he's a step ahead of the regular coincidence theorist NPC, right? I mean, that's a step ahead. That's definitely a step ahead. Although, why does anybody care whether he cares? I mean, are we... technically, their job is to defend their position, not talk about what they care or don't care about.
I don't discriminate against flat earth people. I just simply...
How is that relevant in any way to anything?
honestly don't think it's really worth discussing, but we are discussing it here. And
wait a second. Hold on a second. He thinks it's not worth discussing while discussing it? What? 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 I mean, that is kind of giving away his position psychologically, because how... Okay, I guess we can't definitively say he's not objective, logical, and neutral in capacity. Because, let's say, for example, because if he is, I'm not saying he is or isn't, but if he does have the capacity, if Austin brings certain arguments to the table that show him that it is worth discussing, and he changes his mind about it being worth discussion, I suppose then that's fine. He's not that mentally deficient. But why would you even say whether you think it's worth discussing or not? Why would you even mention whether you care or not about what other people believe? I mean, his job here in the debate is to defend his position, whether he cares about it or not, whether he thinks it's worth discussing or not. All of that's completely irrelevant, and he's bringing that as point one. That's a problem.
We'll get to why that is. But I don't care if you believe in flat earth. I don't judge people by that at all. I have family and friends that believe in flat earth. I respect them tremendously. 2, I don't have any training, indoctrination. I barely have education in the matter. I have no...
This is actually very interesting. I'm impressed just on the basis that this is not starting like a usual flat earth debate starts. And just real quick to reiterate for the audience, I know a certain percentage of the MINDSHOCK audience thinks that discussing flat earth debate is a complete waste of time. Now, my position, which I say all the time, it's not about the conclusion, it's about logic and logical argumentation, of which flat earth is actually one of the absolute best topics to develop logic and reason and to learn about logic and reason, and also human psychology. So even if you don't care about flat earth in any way, one way or the other, or you're offended, whatever, it's still the best topic to develop logic and reason and study psychology, is it not? So this is starting off already. Now, he's admitting that he doesn't have any education. So, okay, well, what is he really doing here? What would you say you do here?
loyalty to NASA or any other governmental organization whatsoever.
People in the chat, God King Cthulhu 138 says, intellectually dishonest from the start. Possibly. Let's see.
Just like all government organizations, NASA lies all the time. That doesn't mean the Earth is flat. But 3, in my position as a...
I mean, that's interesting. That is true. Just because NASA lies all the time doesn't mean the Earth is flat. Correct. It also doesn't mean NASA's lying 100% of the time. So if NASA's developing something here on Earth, which is empirically verifiable by everyone, you know, some of their basic inventions that have nothing to do with space travel, and are empirically verifiable and documented every step of the way, that could all be true. They might not be lying about that, and it's all true. So that is, you know, that is a decent point from Harrison H. Smith.
Professional conspiracy theorist, I'm really incentivized to actually believe in flat Earth, if anything. I know there's a huge and extremely supportive audience of flat earthers, and if I was cynical and greedy, I would pretend to support.
Justin Johnson in the chat saying, why trust a known liar regardless? Well, exactly, you shouldn't trust anything. That's why you see if their claims are empirically verifiable.
Flat Earth, because I know that the support that could get me. If anything, I'm sort of anti-pandering here. I know about half my audience believes in flat Earth, but I simply don't. And, you know, it would really seem like it would be in line with my general position, which is questioning authorities and questioning the official story.
I mean, there is a lot of narcissism here, because first of all, his first point about whether he cares or not whether people believe in flat Earth, he's making it all about himself. So again, this is some kind of like trophy generation, soy-infused individual. So he is making that obvious just from a psychological analysis point here. Because his first 2 points both revolve around himself instead of the actual topic being debated. So it's kind of obvious there's a certain amount of narcissism being dealt with here. So... yes, I want to keep that in mind just to see how he argues, because he's coming from the position whether or not people care what he cares about. Like, that's interesting, right? Now he's talking about how he's anti-pander. It's all about him instead of the actual topic.
But at the end of the day, I just sincerely don't believe it. So those are sort of my preconditions. I don't have any training. I'm not loyal to any, you know, science. I'm not a trust the science type of guy. I don't actually care if you believe in flat Earth.
Wait a second. Does anybody know who's watched a ton of flat Earth debates? Is this the first guy who's not a trust the science guy? Obviously, he doesn't appear to know the difference between science and scientism, because the scientific method can be trusted to a certain extent, depending on whether the experiments are valid or not and in alignment with the scientific method. But yeah, he's obviously a conspiracy guy. He's a host on InfoWars. So if anything, this debate is unique. So we can see that.
And I'm really incentivized, if anything, to believe in flat Earth, but I just don't. And so why I'm against the flat Earth, also, I can sort of divide into 3.
Wait a second. So he's saying he's not neutral. He's against the flat Earth without having any training or education, while also not being a trust the science guy. Wow.
Parts. One, I just genuinely do not think it's true. I researched flat Earth. I'd heard about it like...
Wow, okay. I have to stop this again. I'm sorry, people. The narcissism is getting off the charts here. It's not about whether it is true or not. He's making it about what he thinks, what he feels, what he believes, instead of the objective pursuit of truth. I mean, this is going to be tough. This is why I'm spending so much time on the psychology here at the beginning, because it is of critical importance. I mean, I've talked about this many other podcasts. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody else talk about the importance of both logic and psychology. If you only have one, you're going to have issues. Because how can you even learn anything if you do not understand the way your own mind works? And then, of course, you know, logic is like your compass. But if you don't even know that you need a compass, if you don't, I mean, both are very, very important, which is why I spend so much time on it. I have an entire playlist on the MindShock podcast channel here, logic and psychology, where I discuss all of these topics and why it is of critical importance to understand both if you are actually interested in the truth about anything. Now, his narcissism here, he's not holding back at all. He's being very transparent regarding his own narcissism.
Like you, I had gone in going, actually, I went saying, I'm ready to be convinced. I've heard people think the earth is flat. I think that's awesome. Let me be convinced. I went in with a sincere willingness to be convinced. I found the arguments against the widely accepted heliocentric model to be entirely unconvincing.
Again, it's all about what he finds convincing or unconvincing. This is shades of Bryant Myers, too. I mean, he kind of just spammed not convincing to literally all of the arguments, including physics papers, physics textbooks, because he was so triggered. Now, Harrison H. Smith does not appear to be triggered here, because obviously Bryant Myers was triggered off the charts. I mean, his neck veins were going ballistic in that debate. If you haven't checked the analysis out on MindShock, check that out. Yeah, Harrison is a conspiracy theorist. He's a literal host on InfoWars, which is why this is interesting. I think this might be more interesting regarding the psychological analysis than the logical analysis at this point.
So I just don't think it's true. Two,
I mean, he's just very telling. I don't think it's true. I. Do we need a new counter for I's and me's? Just a narcissism meter?
I think these spiritual interpretations are total nonsense, regardless of the cosmic model.
Wow, spiritual. Wait, does anybody know if he's a Christian? So he thinks the Bible's total nonsense? There's nothing to interpret. I mean, it's very explicit. I actually went over this on the Lower Lodge analysis recently. So, yeah, what's up, Big Pine sailing in the house here? I Am Ian's Cat is in favor of the I-me counter, the narcissist meter.
Earth, I believe, is a priceless jewel of unsurpassed galactic importance. I see God's handiwork in all of creation, including the divinely arranged solar system. If anything...
Wow, this is kind of weird. What is the basis of him thinking that, though? This might have almost worked. I don't know if they're going to get into the Bible, but again, check out the Lower Lodge analysis on MindShock. I actually brought up all the Bible quotations. Lower Lodge obviously ignored the explicit ones and pretended the others were out of context. But that guy's soy was off the charts. Harrison H. Smith here, I mean, his soy levels do not seem to be breaking the actual meters like the Soy Lodge guy. But yeah, it's kind of weird. What is the basis for thinking that the God of the Christian Bible created a heliocentric globe universe? That's kind of weird.
I find the concept of flat Earth completely out of step with the rest of creation.
On what basis? That's kind of weird. Like, what's the basis for that? Is he just reading a script? We have to consider the possibility he's just reading a script. I mean, he's literally an anchor, so he's a host, InfoWars host, news anchor, whatever. He does read scripts. So is this a script, and is this not even his true feelings about anything? Is he just a bought and paid for puppet for InfoWars? I mean, obviously, you know, all of the mainstream news media anchors are all bought and paid for puppets. Is he as well? Again, I'm not claiming he is or isn't. I'm just asking the question. I think it's an important question.
And I can explain that later. But three, I think the overall discussion about flat Earth is...
Again, it's everything that he thinks about.
detrimental. I'd almost go so far as to say toxic to the discussion that we...
Wow. Toxic? Wow. Is he literally pulling out these, liberal, some kind of, liberal catchphrase meme words? I mean, that's kind of weird.
Have every day, which is about the lies told by government to keep us under control. I actually, in doing my research, I really came to the conclusion that, if anything, flat Earth is a psyop promoted by the powers that be to distract, divide, and discredit the truth movement.
Let's say it is. Does that mean the Earth isn't flat? Every single person that I've heard bring up the psyop idea, let's say that's true, because they do predictive programming And they do all these truth rollouts of things that are true. So even if it is a psyop, how would it mean it was untrue? Did he forget the topic of this debate?
So, breaking down those three portions. Here's how I see it.
Back to Matt, I think we might really have to start a narcissistic meter, because his is more off the charts than any debate I've ever watched. He made this all about him instead of even the topic being discussed.
There are natural phenomena that I can observe every day with my eyes that have no readily apparent explanation. The sun, the moon, the stars, eclipses, sunsets, sunrises. These things are evident but mysterious. I don't have an answer to them.
Wait, hold on. So he admits he's not educated or trained in any of the subject matter. And he admits he doesn't have an explanation for anything. But somehow it's still a heliocentric globe no matter what, even though he's not a trust the science guy. So, I mean, this is a unique individual here. What's his basis for his position? If it's not trust the science, if it's not institutions and power structures, and if he admits he doesn't actually know how any of it works, what is his basis for believing in it? This is kind of weird. I've never seen a flat earth debate like this where the guy literally admitted all of these things and still stood on the belief without supporting it. We might be in uncharted territory here. We might be. We really might be.
Evidently, prima facie, just from my own observation. So if somebody came to me and told me that we're standing on a stationary plane and that there's a dome above us that rotates at a continuous, degree, and the moon and sun revolve around the Earth, I would say that makes sense. Yeah, that comports with my observation. It certainly could be the case.
Hold the front 777 saying, I don't have an explanation and they do, therefore you should all believe it wholesale is what I'm hearing. Well, yeah, but at the same time, he's saying he's not a trust the science guy, and he's not saying to trust the institutions. So what is his basis then? Because, I mean, is this just sheer hypocrisy? I mean, what is his actual basis? Because it's not the basis than anyone else that has argued for the globe model has used. So is he going into this entire debate with no actual basis or support for anything and admitting it at the beginning? I mean, that's a bold move. That's bold. We haven't seen this before.
But if somebody else came along and said, well, actually, the reason the sun looks like it's circling around us because the Earth is spinning, and all the other aspects of the heliocentric model, I'd have to say, yeah, that also makes sense. I can also picture that as being true.
Again, his narcissism is off the charts. What he can or can't picture being true obviously has no relation to reality. Reality is whatever it is. I use this example all the time. If you put an advanced calculus equation in front of somebody, just because someone can't figure out the answer doesn't mean it doesn't have an answer and it isn't a valid equation. So whether something makes sense to this particular individual or any other has absolutely nothing to do with it even being true. So this kind of appeal to incredulity logical fallacy, and I mean, do we have to start a new fallacy? We're going to have to use the narcissist fallacy, because I think Harrison H. Smith might have us coin a new fallacy, the narcissism fallacy.
But then you have things like stars that don't behave like other stars.
Oh, wow. So he admits he doesn't know anything, and yet he's saying a star is what he's presupposing it to be, and building a house of cards on top of a house of cards, which he admitted was a house of cards. I mean, we really are on uncharted territory here for flat earth debate. I mean, this is interesting.
Whatever you want to call stars, the points of light, there are some that wander, right? Planets, that's where the term planet comes from. They seem to wander independently. Now, if you assume the Earth is at the center of these planets, you can actually map the paths. They're just sort of twirly, wiggly lines. But you can do it, and you can predict them, and you can actually track them and measure it, assuming that the Earth is the center. That does make sense. It's just you're going to get sort of a different path for each planet that make different motions depending on the time of day. But then if you shift the center, the assumed center, to the sun, and you take a heliocentric model, all of these disseparate.
Okay, I'm going to put this up right here, because why is he talking about assuming anything? Why assume either position? So, false dichotomy. Of course, why are you assuming it's either one of these things? As opposed to infinite other things. And why are you assuming in the first place? So is he like all the? So this is something I really don't understand, and I don't know if Austin is going to bring this up, but I've brought this up on numerous debates, and that is the cosmic background radiation. So for those that don't know, it's not like this hasn't been mapped. Now this is scientism, but this is the official scientism position, that the Earth is the absolute center. This is the cosmic background radiation. I don't know. This is another thing in all flat Earth debate. This should be addressed. I mean, they literally called them the fingers of God. So this is the Sloan survey data. And also, obviously, the documentary The Principle brought this up, but this was done decades ago. This was done numerous times. What was this, 1972, 1997? So the cosmic background radiation, this is nothing new. This is absolutely nothing new. And I don't get how more people aren't talking about this, particularly on the subject of not just flat Earth debate, but if you also did geocentric versus heliocentric globe debate. I mean, this is point one. You start here because even scientism itself has measured the Earth at the center of the universe. So is this all part of some kind of Illuminati humiliation ritual where scientism provides the evidence for a geocentric Earth and they just sit back and laugh as all the goofs continue believing in the heliocentric model? I mean, I can't answer that question, but to Harris, in defense of Harrison, he admitted he doesn't know anything about anything. So what, you know, so it's almost like he gave himself an out here from the get-go. He admitted he's not educated or trained in anything, and yet he's discussing the topic while regurgitating information that he said shouldn't even be taken on faith because he's not a trust the science, or more accurately, a trust the scientism kind of guy. But even they don't even get the scientism correct. Like, is it too much to ask for heliocentric globe debaters and flat Earth debates to at least get the scientism correct? Is that too much to ask for them to at least regurgitate the scientism correctly? But I just wanted to point that out here because a lot of people don't know that scientism itself has proved on numerous occasions through measuring the cosmic background radiation that Earth is the center. There's no assumption. They literally measured the radiation. Or they claimed they did. They claimed they did, and they claimed this is what came back.
And seemingly random paths just go shoot right in the middle. Suddenly it's all very nice, clean, explicable, concentric circles.
What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Where is he hallucinating clean concentric circles as if the Earth is stationary, though? Like, has he never seen star trails? Has this guy never seen any star trails? Like, if it was a heliocentric universe, wouldn't you expect all the star trails to crisscross, intersect? Because if the sun is the center, why would there be perfect concentric circles around the Earth? That's kind of weird. Again, that doesn't prove the shape of the Earth. We're only discussing geocentrism versus heliocentrism here. And again, I've mentioned this many times before. I think the real debates should, well, they're all kind of, I mean, I don't know if I'd call them real. I think most of the debates should be geocentric versus heliocentric, because that's less triggering for most of the scientism cultists. Now, again, Harrison H. Smith does not appear to be trigger here, and he does not appear to be a scientism cultist. At least he admitted to not being one. Now, obviously, he's regurgitating scientism points, but he himself said you shouldn't trust the science. So, or scientism more accurately. But, yeah, this is tough.
That makes absolute sense. Obviously, these planets all seem to be affected by the same force, not completely different forces that give them different paths. They all actually take.
Actually, scientism does say there are many different competing forces. Is it too much to? I mean, where is he pulling this from? Does it? Okay, like I said, I watched little pieces. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I don't know if Harrison is actually going to support any of these positions with any kind of sources or any kind of logic and reason or anything at all.
Pretty much a similar path, just in a concentric circle model. So basically, I've got two people in front of me. I just picture myself as like a goat herder in Greece 2,000 years ago. I just see this stuff, and I've got two people in front of me. One that's got an argument for flat Earth, and the other that argues for the globe Earth. And I know that,
he's definitely reading his notes here. So perhaps he's just not. If he's a bought and paid for puppet, maybe he doesn't even have an opinion on this topic. Maybe he doesn't care, and he just wants his bank account infused. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's actually a flat earther. I mean, how does anybody really know? Let's not assume anything. Thanks for the super chat, Run Boston Bear. A tip for the same day analysis, pure logic and laughs. Thank you, Bruce. You are most welcome. We are all here to learn, and of course, learning can be fun and entertaining as well.
When you're in your argumentation, you like to present the globe Earth side as presenting a model, therefore it's making a positive claim, therefore it has the burden of proof. But to me, these claims are equally burdened. I mean,
wait, what? First of all, credit to Harrison H. Smith to at least accurately repeat what was said about the globe Earth model, because yes, if you're claiming any positive claim, the burden of proof is there. He's saying they're equally burdened in claiming it's flat, yes, but those are two different claims. Pointing out issues with the globe is separate from making a different positive claim about a flat Earth model.
They're both claiming to be able to explain what I'm seeing. Just because one side claims to be able to provide a model and the other side doesn't mean that second person has no obligation to explain anything.
Well, whether he does or he doesn't, that's not relevant to needing to have a basis for the globe Earth belief, or vice versa if you want to swap the people arguing. Yeah, this guy's tough. This guy's tough. He seems to be a product of the trophy generation. His narcissism is off the charts. And again, I don't mean to insult an entire generation. But if we look at videos from, I don't know, the 70s, 80s, or even 90s, there isn't all this I think I. Like, it's crazy.
I'm looking for an explanation for these things.
Still going. Wait, are we seriously going to add an I-me counter for the narcissist meter? I think we need to.
And one side can present it, the other side can't. So the tactic I've seen you take is sort of almost assume, like take the position as if it's a trial, like a criminal trial, where the prosecutor has the burden of proof, and your job is to simply disprove or undermine or cause reasonable doubt.
I'm glad he brought up the trial, because there's 2 points here. There's 2 main points, and the reason I'm cutting into this a lot at the beginning is I want everybody, particularly anybody new that's listening, that is not aware of MINDSHOCK or has not seen any logical analyses on MINDSHOCK. Obviously, we discuss every single topic here. We do a lot of true crime. We do a lot of everything. But the underlying pillar, the foundation of everything we do on MINDSHOCK, is logic and reason. So I actually brought up the court argument many times. If NASA is the accused, and they bring evidence that the Earth is a globe using their own photos, and then they bring their expert, which is on their payroll, to authenticate the images of the Earth, is anybody going to believe that? Like, if a serial killer is on trial, innocent or guilty, if he's providing his own security tapes and whatever logs to prove his alibi, like, who is going to accept that, even if it's true? Who's going to accept it as true if it's provided by the accused? I mean, that's a critical point. Another issue with I think Eddie Bravo first brought this up, If you walk into a room and you see a dead body, and there's two people, and they're just flabbergasted, and one of them's like, oh, this can't be. This can't be. And the other person's like, no, this person's bleeding. There's a knife right there. And the second person's like, well, who did it? If we, who did it? We don't know who did it. And then the first person's like, well, whether they did it or not, the dead body's here. And the second person's like, well, no, it can't be true because we don't know why. We don't have a motive. Appeal to motive is just one of the silliest things. But yes, the court example, Harrison H. Smith is, again, shifting the burden of proof and also engaging in a diversion fallacy and a tu quo qui fallacy, where he's just basically saying, no, you. In a flat versus globe debate, I mean, that might be true if Austin Witsit is claiming it's flat. The burden's on him to support that claim. But it is equally true that if Harrison H. Smith is claiming that it's a heliocentric globe, the burden is on him. So I don't even know why again, it's on his script, so I guess he has to read whatever the script says.
In those claims, like if NASA is the prosecutor and Flat Earth as the defendant.
Well, not really, because NASA would be the accused on a Flat Earth trial.
But that's not the case.
But even if it were, you'd still have to, how would you determine what is true or not true? Beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. So even if in Harrison H. Smith's example here, let's say neither side could prove their position. So does that mean that people shouldn't believe in either model? Like, where's the logical consistency from Harrison H. Smith here? Because if, logic is obviously objective, you're not going to pick a side just for the sake of picking a side. So even if we use his example of globe versus flat, NASA versus whoever in a court trial, if neither side can prove their position beyond a reasonable doubt, why would anybody believe in either side? Does Harrison H. Smith not understand even his own example? From the look on his face, it appears he does not.
I mean, I see both of these arguments having a burden of proof to some degree. But even if this was a criminal proceeding, and that was the case, that reasonable doubt was the standard, I still would have to say guilty because the prosecution's case is airtight. You can nitpick at their evidence, but I've really seen nothing that undermines the core argument.
Which is what? So wait a second. Does this guy not know how court works? What is airtight? Like, based on what? Because so far he didn't cite a single piece of evidence, right? He basically just said everything kind of works in a heliocentric globe model, which not only does it not work, and we'll get into that later. I'm sure Austin will get into that. But even if it did, that's I mean, this is a post hoc logical fallacy, kind of like saying, oh, if someone predicted an eclipse, or the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy, which we came up with in the one and only Craig of Fight the Flat Earth, one of the most entertaining anti-flat earthers ever. He basically argued against the scientific method, and he basically said only if you have a prediction and the prediction is satisfied, that means your entire model is true, and that's where I came up with the Bigfoot mailbox fallacy. So according to Craig of Fight the Flat Earth, and possibly Harrison H. Smith here, based on his courtroom example, if someone predicts that Bigfoot will deliver your mail at, let's say, noon, and the next day you go check your mailbox at noon and the mail is there, that must mean it was Bigfoot who delivered it. Is this what Harrison H. Smith means about having an airtight? Is that an airtight case? I mean, the level of goofery on display here. Because it had to have been Bigfoot simply because the mail was predicted to have been in the mailbox at a particular time. It couldn't have been Mothman. It couldn't have been Chupacabra. It couldn't have been his mom's ghost. It could have only, and it definitely couldn't have been the mailman. It could only have been Bigfoot as long as the prediction was true. So, of course, the only thing Harrison H. Smith has brought to the table is it appears to work. The heliocentric globe model appears to work. So if the mail is in the mailbox, if all the mail appears to have been delivered perfectly, it had to have been Bigfoot? To me, that's not an airtight case. Now, I don't know what constitutes an airtight case for Harrison H. Smith, but to me, a post hoc logical fallacy is not an airtight case. I mean, how can any kind of fallacy be airtight? Ivan Mecton in the chat says, he not looked into this, but the globe model is airtight. Yeah, he's not an expert. He's not a trust the science guy. So by what basis is it airtight? Like, what does he have to show that it's airtight? He's already presupposed it's airtight. So is his entire argument a circular reasoning logical fallacy, where he has already presupposed it's true because it's true? This is tough. This is why I spend so much time on the psychology of this, because how do we make heads or tails of this psychologically? Because I don't think we've ever had a debater who admitted to not knowing anything, who admitted that you shouldn't trust the science or the scientism or the experts or worship authorities. He's admitted all of these things, and he's admitted that he doesn't know anything, that he's not trained or educated in any of this. I mean, this is unique. I think, can we all agree that this is a very unique so-called debate? Lord Zed says he's not even a narcissist. This weenie doesn't even believe in himself. Just a dork that Alex gave a mic to for some ungodly reason. Well, who knows? Perhaps there's some kind of nepotism going on here. Maybe he's a friend of a friend and he needed a job. We don't know. We don't know why he was selected to be on the Alex Jones show. Thanks for the support, James Brown. Yeah, so we really don't know. We really don't know. But this is very, very curious. I mean, it is very curious. No, it's not. No Autonomy says severe Dunning-Kruger. It's not Dunning-Kruger. Because he admitted he's not competent. He admitted he doesn't know anything. So I don't know if this is Dunning-Kruger. I mean, we'll continue to examine if he has other tells of the Dunning-Kruger effect. But he clearly stated that he's not trained and he doesn't have the competency.
Right, so their story makes sense. It fits all of the evidence, and we can get into all of the evidence for flat Earth later. But
what evidence does it fit? If the mail's in the mailbox, that's all you need to know that it was Bigfoot. To believe that in the Bigfoot mailbox, the Bigfoot's the mailman because the evidence appears to fit in the because the mail keeps showing up in the mailbox. It all fits and is airtight. This is kind of weird.
There isn't any, so that'll be an issue. And in the second part, so that's the first part. Just from my...
Again, I. This guy's narcissism is off the charts. I don't know if I would say his Dunning-Kruger is off the charts. He might have average Dunning-Kruger, or even, I mean, I don't, he admitted that he's not trained, and he doesn't really know anything about this.
Observation, what I'm seeing, looking for an answer... The heliocentric spinning Earth, round Earth model fits everything that I see, explains it to a very high degree. And even if there's, little things I don't understand here or there, it doesn't do anything to make me think the whole model is fake.
So if the security camera doesn't show Bigfoot, maybe it glitches out when the mail is delivered. There's no actual Bigfoot footprints, but the mail's still there. So that's enough for Harrison H. Smith. Because even if there's little things that don't work, it doesn't matter because the mail still showed up in the mailbox. Yeah, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough.
So that's just why
I. Not what the truth is, not what reality is, but all about the I.
Don't buy the flat Earth arguments.
Again, whether he buys them or not is irrelevant to reality. Wow, Scott Matznick in the chat saying this was the worst debate I've ever seen. Harry wrecked it. Wow, interesting. Okay, well, we'll do a poll at the end.
But the second part is the spiritual aspect to this. And simply said, I do not believe that the shape of the Earth has...
He picked the wrong guy to be talking spirituality with here.
Any spiritual importance whatsoever. Flat Earthers seem to ascribe extreme spiritual significance to the shape of Earth. I do not.
Wow, seriously? That's kind of crazy. So he thinks God's handiwork has no importance whatsoever. It's me in the chat says, I watched it and agree it was the worst debate. Wow, we're going to do a poll. We have to do a poll at the end then. Because, yeah, I didn't know if this, I would not have picked this to be the worst. This was worse than Craig of Fight the Flat Earth. This was worse than Craig versus Caleb. Wow.
Whether the earth is flat or not,
Just the mere admission on Harrison H. Smith's side that he's not trained, he's not educated, he doesn't know anything. I'm not going to say that disqualifies it for being the worst, and he's not a trust the science guy. I guess it could either make it the worst by virtue of that, but also, I guess, because he's claiming all these things.
Feel the same way about God. In fact, I think the globe earth model comports more with my vision of God, as it is a sweeping, majestic.
Wait, did he just say my version of God? No way. I have to rewind that.
Spinning earth, round earth model fits everything that I see, explains it to a very high degree. And even if there's, little things I don't understand here or there, it doesn't do anything to make me think the whole model is fake. So that's just why I don't buy the flat earth arguments. But the second part is the spiritual aspect to this. And simply said, I do not believe that the shape of the earth has any spiritual importance whatsoever. Flat earthers seem to ascribe extreme spiritual significance to the shape of earth. I do not. Whether the earth is flat or not, I feel the same way about God. In fact, I think the globe earth model comports more with my vision of God.
Oh, his vision of God. Whoa, this is crazy blasphemy. So he doesn't care about what God actually is, only with his own personal vision or opinion of what God is, or whether it comports to his personal views. Wow, I have to give this guy the narcissism crap. I mean, even Bryant Myers wasn't this much of a narcissist. This guy might, okay, we might have to have a second championship. We obviously have the Dunning-Kruger championships for debate. We might have to add another title here, the narcissist title, because the amount of I's, me's, and my's, now he's hallucinating the truth of reality and even the truth of God. I mean, I don't claim anything is true or untrue, or the Bible is true or not true, whatever. I don't claim any of that. But he's here in his narcissistic spiral. This is crazy. He's now saying that his vision of God is what is important and not actual God or true reality. I mean, this level of narcissism, I don't think I've seen this before. This is quite unique. And what makes it even more unique is that he openly, unless he was just being intellectually dishonest, and he really is a Dunning-Kruger goof, he basically said that he's not trained, he's not an expert, he's not well-read or educated on any of these topics or subtopics or any of the sciences, and he's not a trust the science kind of guy. Obviously he meant scientism, or who knows, maybe he meant both. And yet he's all about himself and his narcissism. Wow. I mean, all I can say at this point is wow. His own vision of God is what he's going by? Not the Bible, not just his own hallucinations? Wow.
As it is a sweeping, majestic, minutely detailed, intricate.
And he also said you shouldn't trust NASA, and yet this is the only evidence he's providing, this NASA stream, which conveniently leaves out every thousands of claimed satellites. I mean, this is kind of weird. Where are all the satellites? I mean, that's kind of weird. For anybody new that might, because I know a lot of people who are not into flat earth that do watch a lot of this stuff, and I don't want to not, put the evidence on the screen here. Obviously, YouTube's starting to act up already. I knew it was too good to be true. We were rolling pretty good. We were rolling pretty good, but no, I want to put up the video of the satellites. Well, depending on the distance, Miss Rex Murphy asked, where are all the stars? Depending on the settings, the exposure settings, it is possible you might not see the stars. It's that could be a technical issue. The problem with and same thing with maybe a certain amount of thousands of satellites, if they're the tiny ones that are further away. But all of the large football field-sized ones closer to Earth, those should clearly be visible. Obviously, I'm not arguing you'd be able to see all of the satellites. Even if you say you wouldn't be able to see 80% of them, that still leaves hundreds of satellites. I need to put this clip on the screen. Obviously, YouTube has been acting up ever since I did the NASA Occult Patches podcast. It just has not been the same since then. Yeah, I could just give me a second. I'll get it on the screen. Man, should I not have done that one part? YouTube worked. I don't want to say it worked perfectly. I mean, obviously there were issues, but it was relatively decent. It was relatively streamlined until the occult top secret mission patches. If you haven't checked out that episode, check it out. It is truly mind-shocking. Okay, I got it here. So if you look at the images here, especially on the bottom here, those are the claimed satellites. On the right side are the really big ones, the football field sized ones. So you should be able to see all of those, especially on a 24-hour time lapse. Now on the left are the total amount of satellites and space debris. So you'd also be able, now obviously you wouldn't be able to see the space debris that's really far. But out of the thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, or even millions of pieces of space debris, any of the little pieces of space debris that were flying by the camera over a 24-hour time lapse, or even a 12 or 6-hour time lapse, there would be dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands, that would fly very close to the camera that you would clearly be able to see regardless of exposure settings. So I'll let this play through just so everybody gets an idea of why I am saying this. I mean, not one, not a single satellite, not a single piece of space debris anywhere near the camera. I mean, isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? Still, not a single one. Not one. Not one yet. Shane 187 Thompson says, yet no space garbage has ever crashed into the camera. Yeah, statistically, for the amount of years that they've allegedly been up there, for the amount of years the alleged satellites have been up there with cameras, you'd think there'd be at least one impact, severe or not. No, but just look at these time lapses. Not a single, not one single satellite, especially on that top video, you can see the exposure adjustment. So you might not be able to see the stars. That's a valid point. You might not. You might not see the stars. But where are the satellites? I mean, this is crazy. Where's the space debris? Still not a single satellite, not one. Some of these satellites are huge. They're like football fields. They're way bigger than planes. Not a single one. I mean, look at that. Not a single. Where are these football fields flying in this in allegedly in the atmosphere here? And again, I'll just zoom in on these claimed satellites that are up there, and on the left is an image provided by NASA of satellites and space debris on what it actually looks like, and yet we see none of it. Again, let's say we would not expect to see 80% of it, or even 90% of it. That still leaves hundreds of satellites and space debris. I mean, you know, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. So let's go back to this.
and perfect model, just like most things in creation. A flat earth model, to me, is childish and simplistic in comparison. Nothing else in creation
Childlike and simplistic. Wow.
that I can observe, makes me feel like I'm...
Wow, makes him feel like. So now we're not even talking about his thinking ability. We're talking about his emotions and his feelings. So all of this is based on his feelings. I mean, wow. Wow.
in God's celestial hamster cage that the firmament would represent. That being said, I know that this belief is essential to understanding the why of the conspiracy, right? The idea that making people believe that we're on a planet spinning through...
Okay, he's obviously just reading a script. So, I mean, that's obvious. What's not obvious is exactly what he truly believes or why, because he hasn't really stated any of that yet. Maybe he won't. But look, you can see right now, he's reading from a script. You can see the reflection of the paper in his glasses. So this is clearly not some kind of genuine on-the-fly, because it's like, we're not talking about quick reference points. He's literally reading a script here. I mean, this is kind of crazy. Like, Alex Jones might have points on the paper, but I don't think Alex Jones regularly reads a full script. I mean, is it really, are all of his unhinged rants truly reading a script? I don't think so. I think Alex Jones is relatively unscripted, and I'm sure he has points listed that he needs to discuss. But Harrison H. Smith here, it looks like he's reading entire paragraphs here. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to bring this up on the screen too, just for the people who are, I am not a Bible scholar, nor, this, I'm not going to say that we need to appeal. I don't have to be a Bible scholar, obviously, to make points that are correct. Anybody saying otherwise is, basically appealing to authority or seeking credentials, which are both logical fallacies, appeal to authority, and credentials, logical fallacy. But, I'm simply not a Bible scholar. And, you don't have to be one, but they're one of the reasons it's of critical importance is because there are so many false prophets and teachers. So if they're all teaching, if some of the fundamentals of the establishment that even Harrison H. Smith says you shouldn't believe and is corrupt to the core. 2 Peter 2:1, but there were also false prophets among the people, just as there will be false teachers among you. They will secretly introduce destructive heresies, even denying the sovereign Lord who brought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. So it's kind of weird. Like, again, I don't really know a lot about this guy. I don't know a lot about this guy, but if he really is some kind of shill deceiver doing Satan's work, I'm not saying he is. It's very possible he's just a naive, narcissistic, soy goof brought up in the trophy generation. It's very possible. If I had to guess, I would lean that way. I'm not saying he's some kind of mastermind genius, doing the devil's work here in deceiving people to destruction. But him claiming that there's no spiritual component here, I mean, again, regardless of what the shape truly is, clearly there would be a spiritual component in something as fundamental as the shape of the earth. Clearly. So again, I don't know if I want to give him the credit of being some kind of mastermind genius who's doing this intentionally. It's very possible he's just a naive, narcissistic, trophy generation soy goof.
Worth makes people think we're less significant, is therefore it's easy to sway people towards a materialistic understanding of the earth. I don't believe that in the first place, but obviously that would be the reason why, the primary reason why they would want to keep the shape of the earth secret, if that was the case. So let's confront this conspiracy, because it would be a massive conspiracy necessary to uphold a lie of this magnitude.
Wait, would it? Again, oh man, this really is like Flat Earth 101 debates. I mean, why? Why would that many people be in it? Again, I've brought this up so many times. There are things we're just finding out now about top secret World War II, even World War I, top secret operations. That doesn't mean the entire multi-million strong army was all part of it. They just didn't know. They didn't know. I mean, top secret clearances are only at the very top. So obviously it would not require everybody to be lying. I mean, just the level of gopher here is, it's crazy, but I do have to give Harrison H. Smith the credit. He does not appear triggered. I do have to give him that, at least at this juncture in time.
And it doesn't even make sense as a concept, right? If you,
Harrison, you're under 1 minute.
If you put yourself in the position of people who are trying to keep this secret, there are like a million other ways you could do it.
Wait, Van Roo in the chat saying, I loved watching Hubris Harrison. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Told him to, quote, prepare to be dragged kicking and screaming into the ball of facts and logic. Where did he say that? Was that in the video? Was that in the video they did when they first announced the debate? Was that in that video, or was this in this video? Okay, hold on. I think I want to play it just to set the stage here, because this. No way. Hold on. Let me see. Is the Robot Polisher did a cool video. His videos are pretty hilarious. Yeah, I'm trying to find that. Actually, you know what? I want to play Robot Polisher's video hyping this because it was actually very interesting, and I think it'll make this all that much funnier because I really do want to do I think it's more important to do a psychological analysis than a logical, and obviously we'll be doing both, but I think it's more important to do the psychological just for future debates as well. Because, again, if we're really trying to understand the truth, logic and psychology cannot be separated. So let me put up the Robot Polisher video, and we'll see how much hypocrisy is at play here. Your theology is dumb said, losing the cognitive dissonance and indoctrination is the hardest part for anyone to come into truth. Yeah, if you guys are interested in my background, I did a video on that, explaining my background with the topic and the history of physics. So it's almost like I had a cheat code going into this. Again, I'm not a flat earther, I'm not a globe earther. I had all the, I guess you could say I had all the cheat codes to not be swayed, although I was hoodwinked into the globe, if that's not true. But I was not quite as hoodwinked into heliocentrism. And that was kind of my basis for researching. But yeah, I got the Robot Polisher video right here. If YouTube will let me again. YouTube does not like these topics, does it? Oh man, they do not play these kind of technical games with these others. Oh, Austin in the chat, kid gloves. Yes, indeed, you did handle the guy with kid gloves. I mean, we're kind of diving into the psychology of Harrison here. Obviously, I think we're going to be getting into the hypocritical realm quite extensively with him here.
You know, a 10-year-old girl got raped, okay, and she got pregnant from it, all right, and they covered it up, and the parents didn't report it, okay, and then she had to get an abortion from it. No, that's fine. And she had to travel for 2 hours to get the abortion. What?
What?
the origin of COVID-19. That's an IQ test. If you actually fall for the idea that it came out of a farmer's market just down the road from
It appears Harrison H. Smith is backing up what he said about he's not a trust the science, what he really meant was scientism, type of guy, and that you shouldn't trust authorities just for the basis of on the basis of trusting authorities. Yet it appears that's all he had to support the heliocentric globe. So do we now have to approach the hypocrisy here?
Level 4 bioweapons lab, you have failed the IQ test. What do you do about these people? Are these people the problem? Yes. Are they the enemy? Not really. But we can't refuse to be waking up.
Robot Polisher really exposes this guy here.
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can show these people the information. If they don't care, if they are...
Do we have to play this clip every 20 minutes of this debate just to examine the hypocrisy of Harrison H. Smith?
Refuse to apply the basic logic necessary to understand what's going on in the world.
The basic logic necessary? Does Harrison H. Smith possess the basic logic necessary?
There's nothing we can do to force them.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he's appealing to authority, the same authority he said don't trust. Does that make Harrison H. Smith more or less goofy than the other Globe Earth debaters?
To understand it, they're coming after your kids. They're coming after your children. They're embedding themselves in the institution. They are taking control.
In the institutions he says to not trust, but that's the basis of his heliocentric globe belief? Does that make sense?
Of the levers of power, and they are turning them against you. You cannot roll your and just sigh. Cannot just pretend like this is normal.
Okay. He definitely looks like he's got less soy flowing through his veins in this Robot Polisher video. Or is that just the filter that Robot Polisher put on this?
This is abnormal. This is destructive. This is horrific. And this is just the cultural side of a total and complete civilizational collapse that they are bringing about on purpose. They're announcing it. They're telling you they're doing it. None of it makes any sense. None of it is moral. None of it is ethical. None of it is beneficial to anybody or anything. Everything they said was a lie. They have killed millions.
Mass murderer.
Everything is a lie? So, by his own so-called logic, would Harrison H. Smith so if he thinks everything's coming from the institutions is a lie, which I'm not claiming that, obviously that would be an appeal to extremes and a false dichotomy logical fallacy. But if that's what Harrison H. Smith believes, so he doesn't even believe what he believes. The psychological breakdown here. This is curious. I don't think we've ever had somebody quite like Harrison H. Smith.
On a level beyond anything we've ever seen before. People have this idea, and I don't know where they get it, that somehow the people in charge have your best interest in mind or actually doing things in an attempt.
Now again, before people give Harrison H. Smith too much credit, he might be reading a script for all of this as well. So he might be on point in exposing statism and corruption, but it might not be through his own logic if he has any. It might not be through his own critical thinking or deductive reasoning if he has any. He might simply be reading a script for all of this, so perhaps he's not a true hypocrite because if his brain is off and he's just always reading a script.
To make the world a better place or a more peaceful or safe or good place, it's the exact opposite.
I still can't get over how he said the spiritual component doesn't matter because of his own personal vision of God. I mean, that's weird. That takes narcissism to a whole new level.
You think everybody's in on this? You think it's a big conspiracy? The answer is yes.
This Robot Polisher video is hilarious.
To fathom the reality is so terrifying to most people.
Oh, the soy filter's not working as good for this clip.
That they just can't do it. It's too much. They cannot allow themselves to believe that because then they'll have to not trust the people in charge, and that's...
Witsit should have played this Robot Polisher video in the debate like every 10 minutes. That would have been hilarious.
Terrifying concept. You either got to believe the official story as it's told, or you have to believe that like all of these trusted networks are in it together. There's some sort of massive conspiracy. It goes all the way to the top. And that idea is so horrifying that people just reject it outright. Their ideology is one of deception, deceit, manipulation, coercion,
and a force.
Every pharmacist giving out the shot, every doctor ignoring the side effects, the media not reporting it, the insurance companies not making a bigger deal out of this, NHS and NIAID and Dr. Fauci and all of the little bootlickers in Congress and
Oh, he mentioned bootlickers. Interesting, interesting. And just to reiterate, I do not claim anything is true or untrue. The motto on MindShock, of course, is the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure because we're not narcissists here.
elsewhere, stopping investigations, providing cover for them. They're all in on it. You have to be able to think like these people. And these people have all of the money, have infinite money, don't care about money, are into something greater than money. They're into power. They're into control. They have placed themselves at the top of the societal pyramid, and it's a self-aggrandizing.
He actually, I don't know, it's weird. He doesn't appear, maybe he memorized the script. I don't see the script in this clip here. Maybe it's a teleprompter, but... And he's talking a little bit slower, as if he's trying to elucidate his own thoughts.
Sociopathy.
Unlike in this debate with Witsit.
That drives them. Not love of money, not greed, but control and power.
Literally, just think for yourself. It's as simple as that. Just look at the world around you and interpret it through your own consciousness, the free will God gave you. And we can get out of this. We can stop all of this. Get that we are all infuriated with all of this, but the entire system relies on, is predicated on, can only continue to exist because people are ignorant, they're stupid, they're in this just ridiculous...
He doesn't appear to be reading from a script in some of these. Interesting.
Days of stupor, mindlessness.
Not everybody can be a robot polisher.
Right. In other words, there's too many humans because once the world is run by unthinking machines, not everybody can just polish robots all day. We'll have to come up with something else for them to do. Maybe they'll just die.
Oh man, Robot Polisher makes some great videos. They are highly entertaining. That should have been played every 10 minutes in this debate.
And I only have been about a minute left, so I'll just stream through these. Basically, the scale of the conspiracy necessary to keep this up is too vast to be feasible. Millions of people have
Appeal to incredulity.
worked on space
False dichotomy.
programs.
False premise.
Either they're all in it, or there's some sort of parallel industry constantly psyoping the people in the space industry. Whether
Appeal to extreme.
satellites or balloons, every image from space is CGI, rocket launches fall into the ocean. Just one of these would require thousands of people working for decades in absolute secrecy, and the...
Wait, what? So wait a second, does Harrison H. Smith, what is his position on the moon landing? Because, I mean, there are literal engineers who came out and said they have no idea if the landing was real or not, because everything is so compartmentalized, they were only working on one aspect of it.
Payoff is what exactly? Possibly weaken people's faith? Yeah, I don't buy.
Wait, he said he did all this research, and the only payoff he could think of, again, appeal to motive, which is not relevant to anything, but even if we are going with appeal to motive, the only thing he come up with is weaken faith? What? What? As if they're, I mean, wow. Again, it's like he hasn't watched a single Flat Earth debate. Weird. You would think if you're going up against a guy like Austin Witsit, I mean, if you're playing basketball and your opponent is Michael Jordan, you would think you would at least study some tape. Not that it would help, but you would at least want to prepare somewhat.
At the scale of the deception necessary is frankly too great, and the payoff is non-existent. The third part is...
Wow. False dichotomy. False premise. Hallucinating a non-existent payoff and appeal to motive. I mean, wow. I mean, I guess, yeah, we have to reintroduce Dunning-Kruger, so... Yeah, he's the narcissism is definitely off the charts. I think we have to give this guy the narcissist crown. He might be more of a narcissist than Craig, even.
The psyop, and we can get into this a little bit, but essentially the only thing that gave me pause when researching Flat Earth was the fact that there are like fact checks.
Shifty Eyes Shady in the chat saying, this is why people believe Harrison was set up to fail on purpose. By whom? Wait, what's the theory here? That Alex Jones does want to promote Flat Earth? Because Alex Jones did have Eddie Bravo and Flat Earth Dave on the podcast. Alex Jones did discuss Flat Earth, however, briefly on the Joe Rogan podcast, 1 or 2 times with Eddie Bravo, and on his own podcast. So, yeah, I don't know if it's fair. And InfoWars even put out some kind of Flat Earth video, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 years ago. Actually, I think they did 2 segments. They did 1 segment with Eddie Bravo and not Alex Jones on it. It was 1 or 2 other people talking Flat Earth on InfoWars. And then there was, I think the more recent one was with Alex Jones and Flat Earth Dave called in.
And that it is in fact censored. Clearly it is censored to some degree, not to as great a degree as other things, but I know we should all recognize at this point the YouTube videos that have the little Wikipedia box under are probably worth paying attention to. So that gave me a little bit of pause. But then again, just because something is censored doesn't mean it is therefore true. And we know things like QAnon are censored, but also entirely
Straw man, nobody is making the claim that it's true because of the censor.
fraudulent. And to me, looking over the timeline, the growth of Flat Earth does not seem remotely or.
Again, if everyone can try to not give any spoilers on what comes later in the debate, because some people are watching this for the first time, including myself. I had only seen a couple. I had only drifted in and out of this one. It's mostly blind.
Organic. If you search news archives by years, there's no mention of Flat Earth at all, pretty much until 2013, until Obama, of all people, brings up the Flat Earth Society.
That's actually not true. So I need to do a separate podcast on that. I was actually digging into the history of Flat Earth because I found it fascinating. There is some activity in the 90s, and I will be going into that. Obviously, most of it has been scrubbed from the internet, but I was very interested in that, especially from the Illuminati card game about the Flat Earthers knowing something. That definitely piqued my interest. So there was Flat Earth going on the internet in the 90s. Again, not claiming it was popular or anything. I mean, the internet itself wasn't that popular back then, but that is an untrue claim there. False premise.
Society. And yeah, it seems like came out of nowhere. Nobody mentioned it before about 2013, and suddenly it's everywhere. It's the transgender movement of conspiracy theories. Nobody had ever heard of it a decade ago, but
all
now
right, Harrison,
about 25% of people make it their entire personality. So that's my feeling on Flat Earth. The floor is yours, Austin.
Nice. So
I mean, I can't let Harrison slide on that. Is Harrison really that goofy? No one had ever heard about it? He literally just mentioned the Flat Earth Society in that tirade. And now he's saying nobody ever heard about it, and now they're making it their whole identity, which even if that's true, even if there's a whole bunch of Flat Earthers with personality disorders making Flat Earth their entire identity, how does that make it untrue? Did he forget what the objective of the debate? I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like he doesn't even know. Has he ever participated in any debate ever? Does he even know what a debate is? I mean, we do have to ask these questions. I'm not being mean to Harrison Smith here. I'm just asking logical questions that I think need to be asked.
I'm going to try to address some of the meta things you mentioned here because that was a similar approach I wanted to take. We can get into the specifics in the open discussion. So, like
Oh, wow. Van Roo in the chat saying Outer Limits show in the 90s, the cafe was called Flat Earth. I did not know that, and I did watch Outer Limits as it ran, so I'm going to have to go back and check that out. Thanks for bringing that up. That's interesting. Outer Limits? The Outer Limits of what? That's an interesting name for a show. Outer Limits? They talking about beyond Antarctica there?
I originally thought this must be a psyop, and it's used to discredit all the other conspiracy theories, right? But that actually is not the case. You know, actually on the back of Alex's book, right, or Tucker's book, it mentions Alex. It says, you know, he's super censored. Why would you have to do that if he's just wrong? He must be onto something. They don't censor flat earthers. And as you accurately pointed out, they absolutely do. And I've been kicked off Venmo, PayPal, Airbnb. We're talking about cosmology as to why.
Airbnb is weird. Why is Airbnb kicking? Because I've seen that in a few different places. that conspiracy theorists randomly get kicked off Airbnb. Now, you could understand possibly some of the other ones. Airbnb is not that big. I mean, that's kind of weird. Is Hilton all of a sudden going to put him on the banned guest list or something?
Why it's not as censored, there's no cover story, right? So with everything else, it's hate speech, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. It's dangerous medical misinformation.
Kill the Bank, the Steven Seagal series is 20 hours in length.
That could hurt people. What can you say about flat Earth? Really nothing, right? So there's no even cover story to actually censor it completely. So what do? They shadow ban it, which is arguably worse because when Alex Jones gets kicked off everything, everyone wants to know why. When you're still on YouTube, people think, oh, you're not censored, and then they can't find you. Like if you search flat Earth, you get nothing but hit pieces. So it did absolutely explode. Obviously, the conversation would be, is it organic or not? But like you said, they pointed to the Flat Earth Society, which is specifically crafted misinformation. So that's like probably the strongest piece of evidence off the rip against the PSYOP narrative is when I looked into it, all the information that was presented to me as flat Earth is not what flat Earth actually was. It turns out it's totally different. It makes the position asinine, and it's not actually what they think. And so that's exactly what you would do if you're discrediting the truth. And as to the comparison to, say, QAnon, we know QAnon had a lot of truth in it. The reason QAnon worked.
Hold on, I gotta stop this for in the chat. Bill Wall is blaspheming against the one and only Steven Seagal, possibly the most accomplished human on Earth today. I've even asked if he is the Messiah. You said you would avoid any content presenting him. Why is that? Because you've been hoodwinked by the anti-Seagal propaganda? Watch, yeah, I mean, I defy anybody who actually watches the 20-hour Steven Seagal podcast series where I bring all of the receipts to each and every one of Steven Seagal's so-called outlandish and ego-based claims. He's also he was basically, the Illuminati propaganda started spinning against him once he appeared on Piers Morgan and started exposing the Illuminati.
Worked was because it had a lot of truth. And so basically it was, don't get to these truths. If you're going to, we're going to round you up and guide how you interpret those truths, similar to Operation Trust, right? And just sit on your hands, don't do anything. So if it's a PSYOP, it hasn't worked very well because every single flat earther saw through the pandemic immediately. Every single flat earther protects their children from the onslaught of propaganda, probably the highest percentage of homeschooling, in the world.
Those are some interesting points by Witsit there regarding why would it be a PSYOP. I postulate that if it's a PSYOP, it's to, regardless of whether true or not, it's to actually cause this level of destabilization to bring in the New World Order. But for the people that are arguing it's a PSYOP for distraction, they're not arguing that. So Austin's pretty on point here.
It would be flat earthers. So as to it mattering or not, I'll touch on that. You did mention that it does have spiritual implications in our opinion, and you articulated disagreement, but it's pretty undeniable. So the conversation really comes down to two primary points, and is the Earth moving? Is the Earth a sphere? Those are the two primary things, and they're technically independent of each other, right? So the Earth could be stationary in a sphere in theory. And when you first go down that rabbit hole, it gets very, very interesting. To mention a few things, right? You obviously have the idea of geocentrism, as you mentioned. You mentioned the little squiggly lines. Well, it actually is just spiraling within a torus field. It's exactly the flower of life geometry, which we see all the way from the small scale to the big scale. We would actually expect the macro scale to.
Yeah, Harrison really picked the wrong guy to start talking spirituality with. I mean, does Harrison not know any of this? Because it's very, if he's just a script reader, I guess he wouldn't know any of this.
Fall within the flower of life because everything does, including the quantum scale. But it's called the Copernican principle. That's really like the foundation of this, right? It's the idea that the Earth does not occupy a special or unique position. So I certainly agree with you, bro, that looking at the current model would require a creator. This place requires a creator regardless. And actually, the first and second law of thermodynamics show you that naturalism is insufficient and you must invoke supernatural creator. For the sun and the moon to coincidentally be the same size in the sky, but actually the sun's 400 times bigger, just coincidentally 400 times further away. How is that not, requiring an intelligent designer? But at the same time, it isn't really about someone could say, well, I already believe in God. Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't, and atheism is the number one growing ideology, if you can even call it that, which results in nihilism and apathy and makes for perfect enslavement. So this is incredibly important. And when you look into the motion part, we were 100% undeniably lied to and misled about that situation. We're told that we know the solar system's a fact, and it's been proven the Earth moves around the sun. But in reality, you can look at Stephen Hawking, Edwin Hubble, Albert Einstein, Arthur Eddington, every major prominent astrophysicist or astronomer in history, and they will tell you, oh, we can never disprove that the Earth's in the center. We can't actually prove that the Earth is moving. It's equally viable or more viable. We prefer to not go that route because Stephen Hawking said on grounds of modesty, and Edwin Hubble called it horrific and intolerable, a special and unique position. So that's a philosophical decision that they made.
And look at Austin Witsit's eyes. He's not looking at a script. I mean, maybe he's got bullet points, but he's looking all over the place, and he's clearly very eloquent in his delivery. I mean, like I said, I've been studying logic, and I've been studying debate for quite a long time. I don't want to say exactly how long, but it's been many, many years. I've never seen anyone even close to as good as Austin Witsit, which is actually astounding given how young he is. I don't even remember the first debate I saw Austin in, but I was absolutely blown away. I was mind shocked. I mean, this guy's eloquence is just off the charts, and his logical consistency, even if he's wrong about the shape of the Earth, again, I make no claims about any of that. I'm just examining the argumentation. His argumentation is second to none on any topic, and I'm including myself in that analysis.
For the world, and then misled the world about what it actually was. So that's important, and we can obviously get into the specifics. You can 100% prove the Earth is not moving. It was done in 1887 with the Michelson-Morley, and it's been replicated many times since.
Matari Sensei brought up Andrew Wilson. I think you brought him up before, if not somebody else. Andrew Wilson's a powerhouse debater, but I mean, he does have holes in his game. I got sent a lot of Andrew Wilson debates. I'll examine them. He's not. I wouldn't say he's anywhere near as good as Austin. However, in that sphere of red pill debating or whatever you want to call it, he might be the best in that area of debate. I mean, he's really good. He doesn't commit logical fallacies often, but he does have big blunders here or there. I've yet to see one from Austin. Austin commits some fallacies here and there too, but I've never seen him make any kind of massive blunders.
And what happened was they brought in Albert Einstein, flipped physics all on its head to keep the Earth moving around the sun. And that's why all physics is at a standstill now, because they threw out the electrical field theory understanding of a background medium, or what is called the ether. They kept the Earth moving through space, and now we have this compartmentalization of physics that doesn't all work together. So to not overload everyone, my point there is that's one major part of it. Yeah, if the Earth is in the center of the universe, it had to be created. And I get you could argue that it would have to be created either anyway, but you have a much stronger illusory position of confidence when you say, oh, well, the universe is so big that the Earth is this tiny speck of dust in this ever-expanding universe, and just based on mere chances and probability, the Earth could exist and be habitable, right? And that is the type of thinking that leads people to the idea that, well, no, this place wasn't created. It was just random chance, and that it's literally the Copernican principle.
Your theology is dumb in the chat, saying, flat or not, the geocentrism is the important point. There's a guy named Simon Schock. Really? His last name is Schock? Maybe we should have an interview with him on MINDSHOCK. MINDSHOCK with Simon Schock. With a remaking of the Brahe model with Earth in the center with a working model. Geocentrism is the point. Yeah, I mean, I was into geocentrism back as early as the year 2000. I'll repeat the story real quick for people who haven't heard it. There was a forum. I don't want to say it was famous. It was famous among the underground. I don't remember what it was called. I didn't save it. I've saved tons of stuff from the 90s on the internet. I just didn't anticipate it would ever get shut down because it wasn't an exclusive geocentrism forum. It was a physics forum, and there was a major part of it was geocentrism, where over 200 currently employed physics professors, mostly US, but I think there were some from Canada, UK, Australia, and they were geocentrists, and they were physics professors, and some of them were astronomy professors as well. And when I first saw that forum, because I was doing a lot of research into relativity, so once you learn about, obviously, Nikola Tesla versus Einstein, they try to distract you with Tesla versus Edison and the light bulb. The real conflict was between Tesla and Einstein and the very basis of physics itself, and how all of it was politicized and usurped with fraud. If you haven't checked out the Einstein Debunked podcast on MindShock, check that out. I go into that with the eclipse hoax and Einstein's entire Nobel Prize being based on that hoax that Eddington admitted, and we go through all the receipts, and how that was the basis of him being consulted for all of mainstream establishment physics being switched over to relativity. And guess who was consulted on the government textbooks on what information to use? Albert Einstein. Can anyone say conflict of interest? They basically, the US government printing the textbooks basically asked Einstein, like, what's the truth here? What's the truth? I mean, should we go with Maxwell and all of these previous physicists, or should we go with you? And he's like, well, of course I'm correct. And that's the basis of all the modern textbooks, and there was mass outrage. The physicists who weren't bootlickers, they protested this. Literally hundreds of scientists protested against relativity because they knew it was bunk. And they were, of course, ignored by the powers that be. And then all modern scientism cultists just pretend and hallucinate that everybody agreed with Einstein when that was not true. So that was my introduction. I was researching basically relativity. And that led me to this geocentrism forum where I was a little bit mind-shocked that there were literally hundreds of currently employed physics professors, some at Ivy League schools, that were not heliocentrists. And then from that point on, after the documentary The Principle, I just kept learning and learning. Once I saw the flat earth thing, I was like, this is kind of interesting. Obviously, I thought it was bunk. And then the more I looked at it, the more, obviously it falls in line with geocentrism. So for me, it wasn't necessarily a bridge too far, although obviously I've gone over what tests can be done to prove the shape of the Earth. If people are interested, I'll go over them again at the end, but I don't want to take up too much time with that. But geocentrism, I think all of these debates should just be geocentrism versus heliocentrism, because most people just can't handle, they just can't handle, because of the flat Earth indoctrination into thinking, flat Earth is silly. Obama even said, we don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society, presupposing that it's untrue. But I think heliocentric versus geocentric globe is a better starting point, especially for the average individual.
Ideology, which is that the Earth does not occupy a special or unique position. So if the Earth's in the center of the universe,
Joyce B in the chat saying, Christopher John Bjerknes has Einstein video critiques on his BitChute channel. I believe he wrote 3 or 4 books exposing Einstein. Also, Oleg Jeffimenko exposed Einstein decades ago with pure math, for those that are mathematicians. It's quite dense. It's very, very dense. And he basically absolutely dismantled Einstein with pure math. That is Oleg Jeffimenko. There was also a Greek scientist, forgot his name. He also had this is how far back it goes. He had a GeoCities website in the late 90s. and he was discussed on the Geocentrism forum. Again, I wish I had saved those websites. He had a series of experiments clearly debunking relativity in very basic terms as well. So no shortage of guys blowing the whistle on Einstein. And then, of course, Run Z Cow has probably one of the easiest to understand dismantlings of Einstein's relativity. That is on the MindShock channel as well.
Course, obviously, someone had to put it there. It's the most special, the most unique position. There is nothing like it. That means that us humans who have domain on the earth are obviously very special as well. People do not believe, quote unquote, believe in flat Earth. They stopped believing in the globe, and they then realized, oh wow, this has spiritual implications. People do not go and seek out flat Earth because they want the Bible to be literally true or something. It's quite the opposite. People find out that the scriptures are now viable again. And so then it also comes into curvature, right? And so that's the two major things. And we falsified the radius value. So when it comes to, well, all the model works so well, that's also not true. And we can get into it. Every single part of the globe Earth model took hundreds of years to theoretically patch together, and it doesn't work. From the core all the way to the universe, none of it worked. It's not even close. And that's why you have dark matter and dark energy making up 96% of the universe. And it's just an illusion that we're in the center because everything's accelerating away from each other. All these crazy theories where if you just have the Earth.
Is Harrison going to address a single point that Austin made here? Are we betting no?
Earth in the center, you don't need any of that. And it matches all astronomical observations. You don't have to claim that everything is an illusion. So why were we not told that? That should be a very interesting question for the audience. You were lied to about cosmology, like just on its face, even if you want to believe we're moving through space and stuff. So, and then the curvature, obviously, if the radius value is falsified, the entire model is falsified, right? Because gravity uses that, day and night cycle uses that, everything uses that, alleged radius of orbit to go to space. All of these claims require that radius value to be true. The distances on the globe. So if it's untrue, the entire model is untrue. So that's a stillman of our position, is that we went to look for evidence of the globe and it wasn't there. And falsification is independent of replacement.
That's such a critical point, that falsification is independent of replacement. That is such a critical point. I mean, that intro video that I was the intro of all debates that I said should be 5 minutes, it should probably be closer to 10 minutes. Because that point really needs to be driven home to any individual who wants to participate in any debate on any subject. You don't need to know what happened to know what didn't happen. You don't need to know the truth to know what isn't the truth. If I claim to have gone to Mars yesterday, you don't need to know where I went to know where I didn't go. So even if you can't prove exactly where I went, if you have particular timestamps, toll receipts, whatever, you can prove. You might not be able to prove exactly where I went, but you can reasonably deduce that I did not go to Mars or somewhere claimed. For example, if I just said, I'm in the U.S. and I just went to Egypt for a second and came back. I mean, you don't, even if I actually leave the mic for a second, that was a second. I didn't go back and forth between the U.S. and Egypt in that second. You don't need to know where I went. Maybe I didn't go anywhere, to know where I didn't go. And for whatever reason, so many people can't comprehend that point.
And I'll say this analogy, maybe it'll land. It's like if I went and looked through my parents' closet and I found adoption papers, and I'm like, walk up to you and say, dude, Harrison, you'll never believe it, man. My whole life is a lie, bro. Those aren't really my parents. I was adopted. And you say, well, who are your real parents then? I said, I don't know. I just found out that they're not my real parents. I just falsified they're my parents. I don't really know who the real ones are. And you could say, wait, you think everyone in town's in on it? Everyone in the church is in on it? No, they believe the lie. They believe that those are my parents. And if you said, well, until you can tell me who your real parents are, I'm not going to believe that those aren't your real parents, that would be ridiculous, right? Obviously, the falsification that they're my parents stands on its own. That's the way that this situation goes. Frankly and respectfully, I would say it's somewhat coping to not focus on that, focus on the evidence or lack thereof for the positive globe Earth claim.
That's a great point and great analogy by Witsit there. Because, again, that's also a great one. Because he kind of covered a lot of points there. I hope everybody was paying attention. I mean, this is like Jordan again putting up 50 points. He's running a clinic. Austin Witsit is just running a logical clinic on Harrison here. Harrison doesn't even know what's going on as he's getting 50 points scored on him. Because, again, you don't need to know what the truth is to know what it isn't. And people being misled does not mean they are lying. Humans are fallible. I talk about this all the time. The scientism cult is basically pretending that humans can't be corrupt or fallible in large numbers. It can only be a single human there or a single human there in another place. And actually, George Carlin had an excellent quote. There's an excellent George Carlin quote on conspiracies. You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. I'll repeat that again for the cheap seats if there's any coincidence theorists up in here. You don't need a formal conspiracy when interests converge. So, for example, different mafias that are in competition with each other, the Italian mafia, the Chinese triads, the Japanese yakuza, if there's some kind of Interpol crackdown on something, they want to survive and continue to make money. So they might not even have formal meetings where they discuss what to do about Interpol, but they're all going to be involved in some levels of deception against Interpol and to continue their business. So if there is some kind of interests converging, another example I used are slave plantation owners. Anything that threatens the institution of slavery, they're going to be against, even if they don't have a formal meeting, even if they compete each other. If there's different cotton plantations that are also each other's competition, they're still going to be aligned formally or informally about anything that threatens their entire institution. So if there is some kind of Illuminati agenda to get everybody to believe the Earth is a globe, all of these statist cults and their space agencies, these countries and their space agencies, they would be in it to deceive, even if they don't formally have any kind of agreement or meeting in order to do so. They're gonna continue the deception independently if it threatens any kind of foundation of control over their citizenry. So I don't know if I want to call that a basic concept, but that is a concept that should be understood by anyone even talking about any kind of conspiracy.
Which is antithetical to all evidence and experience, and then focus on random questions like the meme says, oh, how does everything in the universe work? Oh, you don't know? Well, checkmate, stupid flirt, right? If you've ever seen that meme, that isn't a proper way to go about it. So that's kind of a lot of the meta arguments there. I don't really see this being a successful psyop. I think that it's done quite the opposite, and people should just step back and kind of look at the evidence for what it is. And that's what I encourage people to do. And just like you said, I will say, just like with everything else, like with the pandemic, we got gaslit the whole time. Oh, you science denier this, science denier that. Oh, you have no idea what we're talking about. Trust the experts. And of course, it was all a lie. It was all a lie. So ridiculing people, mocking people, dismissing them as a psyop and stuff is not an approach we should take as truth.
Another point I want to add here is, I've brought this example up many times too, the appeal to motive nonsense. Why would they do this or that? Like a serial killer. A serial killer could be killing all these people, and there's bodies and evidence, blood evidence, weapons, etc. Just because you can't figure out the motive, like maybe just like with a lot of these conspiracies, MK Ultra, whatever, without the top secret clearance levels, like the coincidence theorist, authority worshipping cultist, bootlicker goofs who hallucinate that just because they can't comprehend what a good enough motive would be, they don't have the top secret level clearances. And if the reason is something else entirely, it's not relevant. Because if you're just objectively, logically, and neutrally examining the available evidence using logic and reason, the motive is, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it doesn't matter. You can still find out what the truth is, or at least what it isn't, without knowing motive.
That's right. We never do that. So long story short, when you look into the actual alleged claim that the Earth's a spinning globe, which again is antithetical to experience. So you're saying, well, I think you have the burden of proof as well. I agree. If we say that the Earth is flat and stationary, that has a burden, and it's substantiated with every observation and all-day experience that we have. Everyone experiences the Earth is stationary. Everyone experiences that the stuff in the sky moves in relation to the Earth not moving. We fly planes like the Earth is flat and stationary. We build bridges, runways, railways, all engineering as if the Earth is flat. Everything that we do is if this Earth is stationary and flat. The horizon, I mean, it comes from the word horizontal. So the default empirical position is that the Earth is flat and stationary, and that the sun and the stars and the moon, they move over top of us. There's a claim that comes in and says, well, that's actually an illusion, right? And everything is back. So that would have the burden of proof, and that's the line of logic for that.
All right.
I mean, I don't see how anybody can refute. Like, this is like Michael Jordan just dunking it in everybody's face repeatedly. Like, what are they going to do to come back from that? Perhaps Harrison's best course of action for somebody who's a narcissist looking to indulge their ego, perhaps his only move here is to ignore everything Austin just said. I mean, obviously that would demonstrate that it's not good faith debate. But I mean, I would not want to be in that argument against Austin simply because what he just said is not refutable. You can bring up other points, sure. But how are you going to address exactly what Austin just said? That was possibly one of the strongest lines of reasoning ever put forth in any flat earth debate. Again, that it didn't prove any kind of conclusion on its own, but in terms of logical argumentation, that was probably the most precise and logically sound line of reasoning anybody has ever put forth in a flat earth debate. Miss Rex Murphy with a very, very astute observation in the chat. The motive is to diminish God. Einstein replaced the ether with dark matter. I mean, when you look at the theories of dark matter popping up, that is interesting. I mean, and not to mention, even quantum physics is going to the realm of everything being connected. Again, going to ancient spirituality, talking about how everything is interconnected. And that's what they came out with quantum matter. It seems like so-called establishment science always, not just one, but many steps behind the wisdom of the ancients.
And with that, that is your time, and we are headed to break, guys.
All right, fascinating stuff. We'll do open discussion on the other side. If you got any videos or anything we want to play, we'll get into it on the other side. Stay with us, folks. Go to InfoWarsStore.com to support this.
I mean, I'm not being nice or not nice to Harrison. I'm just calling it how I see it and how I hear it.
Ground control.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're skipping the next a solid 25 minutes to do open discussion with myself and Austin Witsit. Again, you can follow Austin at Witsit.
I mean, yeah, those. I mean, that was a night and day opening statement comparison. I mean, how many times did Austin use the words "I think," "I feel," "I," me, my view, compared to Harrison?
Witsit on Twitter and witsitgetsit.com. I lost my paper that says it, but that's right?
Wait, so so he's even losing his own notes? He can't even keep his own notes on his desk? He's losing his own papers? He's losing the script papers he's reading from. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
at Witsit gets it. Okay. So yeah, open discussion time. Obviously, we both brought up a bunch of stuff in our opening statements. I guess to me, again, every debate I've watched from Flat Earth sort of has the same paradigm, the same dynamic. It's somebody like yourself that's arguing for Flat Earth, and then there's like the Bill Nye the Science Guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson wannabe. And frankly, I don't really care about the scientific arguments as much.
Wait. Hold on a second. Oh, man. So he doesn't care about scientific arguments. And he doesn't care about the spiritual arguments either, because he said he doesn't get what it has to do with spirituality. So what kind of arguments are there? His feelings? I mean, is this all an example of feels over reals? I mean, Harrison H. Smith is going with the feels over reals argument? That's weird. That's kind of weird. I mean, yeah, but at least most of the Globers at least pretend to be about the science, and there are even guys who pretend to be about the spirituality on the globe side. So if he doesn't care about the scientific arguments, he doesn't care about the spiritual argument. I mean, what is the basis here? Is he just going over his feelings? Yeah, Ethan W., I think I am going to have to add the narcissism meter. I, me, mine, anything referring to thyself instead of objective argumentation would go on the meter. Yeah, this is really weird. He's openly admitting. So at the beginning, he openly admitted he's not trained, he doesn't have any knowledge in any of these fields, so he doesn't know anything about anything. And now he's saying he doesn't even care. Not only does he not know about any of this science himself, he also doesn't care about it. I mean, this is very, very curious. I mean, I'm almost perplexed by the psychology of Harrison H. Smith here. I mean, he just openly admitted in his opening statement that he's not trained in this, he doesn't have any educational background in any of this, and now he's also saying he doesn't care about the scientific arguments anyway. And he also said there's no spiritual, he doesn't understand that how this has anything to do with spirituality either, while also, this is the statement that gave him the narcissism crown, in my opinion, is that he only concerns himself about his own vision of God. Like, nothing to do with the Bible, nothing to do with the objectivity of what God really is. He only cares about his own feelings, emotions. I mean, this is pretty crazy. Cakewood Records says, Alex had Brian Stelzer train him for this debate.
When it comes to whether experiments are valid or whether the physics checks out, I really do just go down to like basic observation and logic and what would be necessary to cover this sort of thing up.
Okay, I can't keep up with this. So he obviously doesn't know what the word logic is. Logic is concerned with validity. How do you know something is valid or not if you don't care about the scientific method? Like, what are you can't use your own, he's using his own subjective feelings for validity? So he clearly doesn't know what the word logic means. Because how can you say you don't care about whether experiments are valid or that you don't care about any scientific evidence, but you somehow care about logic? Wow. I mean, this is quite out there psychologically. I mean, I really have no clue what Harrison H. Smith thinks his position looks like to anybody else. I guess he doesn't care because he's a narcissist, so I guess he doesn't care how he presents himself here. Objectively, because I guess in his mind there's no such thing as objectivity because he only cares about his own feelings. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough. This is really tough. So, observations and he wants to appeal to motive, presupposing that he or anybody would have the security clearances required to even know the motive in the first place. I mean, I mean, let's take a second to appreciate that.
We can get into the PSYOP aspect in just a little bit, but like the moon is a sphere, right? Can we agree on that? Because I mean, to me, it's pretty undeniable. The moon is in fact a sphere.
It's pretty undeniable. Like, what? I mean, how would you know either way? So, wait a second. Does he not know what a planetarium is? Is he the type of guy who thinks train tracks touch in the distance because they look like they touch? Is he that type of goof? I mean, wow. Wow. I mean, wow. We're only at the beginning here, but already, wow.
We can all see. Do you agree?
We can all see. It's a fact that we can all see. How do you factually know the consistency of something without touching it, or have something else touch it and verify? I mean, we do have, as in the public was presented with moon rocks. Now, when tested, it turned out to be petrified wood from Arizona. So I don't know how petrified wood from Arizona somehow proves that the moon is a sphere. Can anybody figure out how petrified wood from Arizona proves that it's a sphere? This is NBC News here. Obviously, this was reported on many news outlets, BBC. The Dutch National Museum said Thursday that one of its prized possessions, a rock supposedly brought back from the moon by U.S. astronauts, is just a piece of petrified wood. So does anybody know how petrified wood from Arizona proves that the Earth is that the moon is a solid sphere? I mean, I'm having trouble with that one. Does anybody in the chat know? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Again, is Harrison H. Smith... So Harrison H. Smith does believe in the Apollo landings? I mean, I don't know.
Agree with that?
Well, I've never seen the other side of the moon, but I would agree that it looks somewhat spherical, sure.
Okay.
But, you know, I've replicated a moon, like with polarization, where it looks like a sphere. And you can walk over there and put your hand right through it, right? It's a projection. Just with electromagnetic.
Look at Harrison. Looks like he's short-circuiting here. As soon as Austin mentioned the projections appearing to be spherical, I mean, look at Harrison H. Smith. He just blinked like 10 times in 1 second. It looks like Austin short-circuited whatever's left of his brain. I mean, Dave Scott in the chat says, petrified wood is made when Steven Seagal stares at a tree. Hard to argue that. There might be more evidence of that than the moon being a solid sphere.
Polarization in the atmos, you could have I don't know what the moon is, but I would agree, yeah, it's certainly round and looks like it could be a sphere. I've never seen the other side of it before, so I can't say I know it's a sphere, right?
I mean, look how logical Austin... I have to give Austin some more credit here, because in most debates, you have goofs on either side claiming to know things for sure. Because how would Austin know whether it's a solid sphere or not? He doesn't pretend to know. That's the difference between a true scientist, someone who's objective, logical, and neutral, instead of jumping to conclusions just to soothe their dissonance.
Coincidentally, we see the one side.
But the shadows on the moon certainly make it look like a sphere, right? I mean, unless you have...
Wait, the shadows on the moon make the moon look like a sphere? What? What? Wait, so he thinks a projection can't have shadows? This is weird. Not to mention, if there's some kind of advanced... Because let's say you're an ant walking into a planetarium. you have no idea, if you're an ant, how the projection machine even works. So why would a non-solid object, why would it be impossible for shadows to be generated on a non-solid object? Oh, we got Robot Polisher in the chat. One of the all-time greats in on Twitter and making videos. We just played one of your videos before. It was exposing Harrison's hypocrisy, and we were also kind of going back and forth on how often he reads from a script.
Another explanation for why the shadow moves the way it does across the moon. I mean, it basically has to be a sphere, right? I mean,
it has to be a sphere, right? It's like he's desperately pleading for Austin to agree with him. This isn't debate. You don't desperately plead for your opponent to agree with you on some kind of point. You actually use evidence to prove your point. I mean, wow, Harrison, this is, this is weird. We have to say, I think we can reasonably conclude that Harrison is definitely the narcissism champion so far. He might not be the Dunning-Kruger champ. I mean, we got a lot of contenders. We got Craig out there, Fight the Flat Earth. But Harrison, I mean, the narcissism is so off the charts here, particularly his comments before the debate. Like, it really appeared like he thought he was going to wipe the floor with Austin, or at least maybe even hold his own, where, I mean, he's mounted basically nothing here. It's almost like he handicapped himself by saying he's not a trust the science guy. He's not trained or educated in any of this. And it's also not spiritual. So he has no basis for anything, and he admitted that, and yet he's continuing with his admitted basis of nothing to stand on.
are you saying the moon is a projection, or do you think it's a physical object?
I don't know what the moon is. I'm just saying I'm not, like, a lot of evidence to suggest that it's not particularly solid, actually.
Again, a narcissist would pretend to know. Oh yes, Dave Scott. Let's not forget Michael Sartain. Sartain, the current reigning defending Dunning-Kruger champion, until at least I finish the next part of Craig's analysis.
Like, even the Astronomical Society said that they've seen stars through the moon. There are things called lunar waves. The Terminator line, sometimes there will be things lit up on the other side of the Terminator line, right, which shouldn't be happening if it is a solid sphere with the actual shadow. I don't even claim to know that that is, quote-unquote, a shadow.
I mean, okay, I've actually heard people accuse Austin of being a narcissist. What kind of a narcissist openly admits he doesn't know all these things? I mean, Austin is definitely humble. I mean, he's taking the scientific position, the logical, objective, neutral position. If you haven't touched it, or somehow definitively determined the composition of this celestial body, of the moon, how would you know what it is? Kill the bank in the chat. And Matt Walsh being the solo champion. Yes, Matt Walsh is the solo champion of the new system. Wow, that guy was quite goofy as well. So, I mean, yeah, this is really tough because didn't Harrison just talk about his own personal observations? When the moon, now obviously the moon doesn't always appear translucent, but sometimes it does, and you can see the sky through it. So if Harrison H. Smith is throwing all science, all spirituality, all out the window, and he's only even using his own eyes, his own lying or truth-telling eyes, does he not even care about his, because wouldn't a narcissist care about their own observation? Because he mentioned his own observations. So has Harrison H. Smith never looked at the moon when it appeared to be translucent? I mean, it's not that rare. I mean, obviously it's not all the time, but it's not that rare where you can see the sky through the moon. But I guess he doesn't care. I mean, is he really just being intellectually dishonest this whole time? Maybe. Or is he just the spoiled trophy generation narcissist soy goof? I mean, I don't know. I don't claim to know.
we can replicate that with polarized lenses. It can just literally be like a plasma polarized lens, and it could be solid for all I know, and just be optically displaced within a medium. Both models, I think, is when you start hearing the stuff you've never heard, it sounds like I'm just reaching, making stuff up. But no, but both models claim that the sun and the moon aren't actually where we see them, right? That they're apparent positions. So that's interesting to know.
Does anybody actually think Harrison knows the difference between apparent and true? I mean, obviously Austin is doing this for the audience. I'm not sure what Austin's opinion, in the chat he can give his opinion if Austin's still here, on his honest opinion of Harrison H. Smith's intellectual honesty and intellectual capacity.
It could be a solid sphere and just not where we see it. It could be relative to each observer based on their angle to it. So, but this is what I will say, that is actually kind of a meme. And normally people do want to, like, what's the moon? I don't know, man. I just know that the Earth is not what they said. You know, I can ask you a question. Like, you're like, you said you're just kind of into observation, right? That's what made me a flat earther, bro. Because I did not want to be a flat earther. Okay, let's just get that out. Like, it discredited everything I ever said, right? I'm like the conspiracy theorist of my family. So, like, all of a sudden I'm going to come around saying the most ridiculous thing ever. I'm immediately discredited. So right. I went out and looked, though, bro. You can see mountains from 300 miles away. They should be 2-3 miles below Earth curvature, and you can see them.
Well, we'll talk about curvature here in just a second. But, you know, again, it seems to me.
Again, it seems to him and only him, because if he doesn't care about the scientific method or scientific experiments, then he's only going on seems to himself. And I'm not even sure if he's going on seems to me. Like, I would ask him, what does it seem to you when the moon is translucent and you can see the sky through it? Like, what does that seem to you? Here's the tweet. Van Roo on Twitter sent this. Harrison H. Smith saying, I accept the challenge. Witsit gets it. Prepare to be dragged kicking and screaming onto the spinning ball of facts and logic. The only thing accurate I see there is the cry laughing emoji. I mean, that emoji is accurate. It is accurate. Because what facts and logic has Harrison presented? He hasn't even been consistent in his own so-called logic. Yeah. Man, this is a train wreck, but it's almost like a psychological train wreck just because of Harrison's own admissions about not caring about the actual science or even the spirituality. I mean, what else is there other than his feelings? I mean, if there is something, he should present it, but he hasn't done that yet. Dave Hinkle in the chat says, I think Harrison is honest, just badly uninformed and apathetic. Very possible. I mean, this could just be a product of the trophy generation with a lot of soy. It's very possible. A combination of soy, naivete, and narcissism. I mean, his narcissism's definitely off the charts. It seems most people brought up in the trophy generation are. Globe Atheist 81 says he was either being dishonest or he's not capable of having this conversation. Shane 187 Thompson says Harrison Brain is in the middle of a train wreck. KKRUP says I can't wait till Harrison's recall on this tomorrow. Yes, it would be interesting, you know, to see how a narcissist evaluates everything that just happened here.
Like, you can see the moon, and it's pretty clear what it is. It's a rocky body. It's solid.
Even when it appears translucent? I mean, again, it's not exactly rare to see a translucent moon. So is he just pretending? Here's what I want to know. Is he pretending he's never seen one? Has he actually never looked at the moon? Or is his brain playing tricks on him and kind of affecting his memory? I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, has he seriously never seen a translucent moon? I'll bring up a video in a second. I have a really good video on the moon. If YouTube lets me put it on the screen, which it might not, because YouTube likes to do its own thing on some of these topics. Also, on any of the true crime podcasts, I don't believe I ever have issues putting anything on the screen. Kill the Bank says, on the words of Witsit, don't make it weird, bro. Miss Rex Murphy says, do narcissists evaluate? I doubt it somehow. Yeah. Well, I guess they possibly pretend to evaluate through their own lens. Yeah, YouTube does not want this video on the screen for some reason. Huh. I hate when YouTube does this, and it makes me more determined to make it work. Okay. I think I can get it. Or maybe not. Hold on. Give me another minute. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'll try for another minute. Oh, man. Alright, I'll give it another minute, see if I can get it working. But I think a lot of people have seen the moon look translucent, at least appear to be translucent. Wow, no way. Math THFCX said, Harrison also said on Twitter earlier in the week regarding flat earth and globe earth information, quote, I can tell you right now, there is literally nothing I have not seen. I know everything, quote, end quote. Can someone send me an image of that? Because, wow, I already crowned him the narcissist king before that. I mean, that is literally his own receipt for being the king of... Who says that? I know everything. There is literally nothing I have not seen. I mean, do you know how many countless hours he would have had to have been on the internet? I mean, we're talking years and years and years. I mean, so he's saying he's seen absolutely everything Austin has seen. He's seen absolutely everything every single flat Earth researcher has seen. I mean, does he have some kind of time machine to hit pause? I mean, how would he have been able to see all that? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, kill the bank. I have a lot of images and videos. I kind of wanted to put it on the screen. I did it before. I did it in another podcast, but that was before I did the NASA occult patches one. I don't know if it was, I forget which debate I had put that on. And now that it's not working, I really want to do it even more. Oh man, it is so annoying. I got one more idea to trick it. Sometimes I have to relabel things, and sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, it does not want to work. Well, at least it's still playing this video. It just doesn't want me to overlay anything anymore for some reason. Or maybe just anything relating to the moon. Not allowed. YouTube put the kibosh on presenting any photos or videos of the moon over this particular video. I don't know, maybe this whole thing got flagged already. I mean, I'll just put up a generic image, I guess. This isn't the one I wanted, because there's a couple where you can see stars through the moon, and it looks even more translucent, but I'll just put this one up, because, I don't know, the way it's labeled, or maybe because of the aspect ratio, or it's really small. It lets me put up this one. But I mean, everybody's seen the moon in the daytime where it looks like it's transparent. I mean, the best ones are when there are clouds around and you can kind of see the clouds through the moon. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think everybody's seen the moon where it looks like the moon is kind of transparent. At least to the point where you're not sure if it is or it isn't. Oh, okay. Robot Polisher just tagged me. Let me screenshot his tweet here. Wow, and keep in mind, I already crowned him the narcissism champion. Now this basically sets it in stone. I mean, the level of narcissism here. Now, I don't know if he's half joking. I don't know if he's limiting the context to Flat Earth or not. But here, I'll put it on this on the screen. It should let me do that. So, can you believe this guy? I mean, what is this guy's goal here? I mean, can you imagine the level of narcissism here? It's hilarious, the amount of unsolicited advice I am getting from my upcoming Flat Earth debate with Witsit Gets It. People flying in from all sides with charts and data and expletive. I can tell you right now, there is literally nothing that I have not seen. I know everything. Wow. I mean, was anybody, I don't know if there was anybody in the MindShock chat right now doubting the narcissism, but if there was, do you still doubt his championship level narcissism? Does anybody still doubt it? I mean, does anybody doubt it? I mean, if I had seen this before, because I guess maybe I was giving Harrison too much credit at the beginning. But this is why I like to do most of these blind, because I don't want to presuppose, I don't want to be influenced too much. But again, I crowned this guy, as soon as he starts talking about his own personal vision of what God is. I mean, the level of narcissism, complete disregard. He claims to be a Christian. I mean, he's even got a cross. Look at this. He's even got a cross in his name on Twitter. And he is saying he's only concerned with his own personal vision of God. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, wow. Again, I'm not saying this proves he's genuine or not genuine. I have no idea. But what we're observing here is his narcissism is absolutely off the charts. Wow. So is this like a middle school mentality where he already thought he was the best, so he didn't really prep? Like maybe he watched a couple of videos on the side, like while he was watching TV and eating Cheetos, and he just had some flat earth videos playing in the background, so he didn't actually pay attention to them because he thought he didn't have to. Is that what this is? Is that what this is? I mean, wow.
You can see the craters. I mean, powerful telescopes or even, powerful cameras can zoom in quite a bit, and it's not a projection. It seems...
Wait, how would he know whether it was a projection or not? I mean, you can zoom in on the moon in a planetarium as well. I mean, has this guy never been in a planetarium?
Fairly solid to me.
It looks fairly solid to him.
So, to me, this is...
Wow. Okay, we have to add the narcissism meter. And in the new logical analysis system, we have fallacies per minute. We're going to have to add a narcissistic tendency per minute. I mean, how often is he saying to me, I, to me, my, me?
Obviously, just because the moon is a sphere doesn't mean the Earth is a sphere. And I know the argument that I've heard quite a bit is like, just because pool balls are circular doesn't mean the pool table is circular. Yeah, that's true. Just because the moon is a sphere does not mean that the Earth is a sphere, but it might kind of be like a hint, right? It might kind of be a clue, and it sort of...
It might kind of be a hint. How so, though? If you're in a warehouse thousands of miles wide, or even in a basic planetarium, how does the celestial body, the either projection or the light bulb in the ceiling, how does that might be a clue in Harrison's mind here? I wonder what he's thinking right here in this moment. It looks like he kind of realized that this wasn't going to be as easy as he thought. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, this looks like a sad man right now. Like, I don't know if he thought he was just going to get his trophy right away, but I don't know.
Means that if you use terms that I've heard where it's like this cartoon Earth of some idea of a orb suspended in nothing, it's like, well, that's not actually that ridiculous because we literally see one every day. I think the shadows obviously...
Wait, you literally see an orb? An orb of what? Wait, and how would seeing the ceiling light in a warehouse, like, what? I mean, he's building a house of cards on top of a house of cards while admitting it's a house of cards. I don't know if we've seen this before. I mean, I really don't think we've seen this type of so-called debate before.
Show that it's a sphere. And then you have things like the eclipse. And, you brought up the fact that the sun is 400 times the size of the moon, but 400 times away. So it's, a perfect match. And yeah, I mean, that whether the sun is 400 times or 200 times, whatever the actual multiplication is, the fact is that with solar eclipses, you can see that the moon is clearly in front of the sun, and yet they're the same size. So whatever that, calculus is, it is, the distance is equal to the size difference. You know what I'm saying? So obviously the sun is behind the moon.
Wait, no, I don't know what you're saying. What is he saying? It's equal to it, therefore the eclipse looks like an eclipse? Like, is this an argument? Does this support his position? Like, what is he actually saying? I think everybody has an idea of what an eclipse looks like. So, what's his point here? I mean, this is kind of weird.
The moon is an object that is apparently equivalent in size of the sun because of our distance from it and the perspective of it. And again, that sort of, I mean, if you accept that the moon is a sphere that's above the earth, everything else kind of follows. I mean,
Wait, what? Wait, what? Everything else follows? I mean, this isn't even a pure reification fallacy. It's like a specified reification fallacy from a false premise and false dichotomy. I mean, what? I mean, this is a house of cards on a house of cards on a house of cards. I mean, this is... I have to give him credit. Nobody else has argued this way in any flat earth debate. Awesome Town Matt in the chat says his mom mailed him his participation trophy in advance. That would explain his attitude, wouldn't it? That would explain the attitude.
I think that debunks a lot of flat earth. I mean...
Wait. Everything following from the earth being a sphere in an eclipse debunks flat earth. I mean, that has almost nothing to even do with the surface. I mean, wait. Okay, if you have some kind of rotating light system in the ceiling of a warehouse, what would that have to do with the floor? Like, what? Even if you have a bigger light bulb slightly farther away, or whatever the amount farther that it is bigger, in order to line up perfectly. I mean, how would everything follow from that? I mean,
because then obviously the moon has to go away for a certain period of time. It matches up with the spinning of the earth. I mean...
Wait, how does the moon match up with the spinning of the earth? Does this guy even know what the word how means? Like, it's kind of weird because he's saying don't trust, he's not a trust the science kind of guy. So what is the basis for everything he's saying? Because if he said don't trust the establishment, don't trust the science, that's where this information is coming from. So if he still thinks it's true, where's the basis for that? He's not saying here.
If the moon is a sphere and is a solid object that's floating above the earth and circling around it, I mean, that seems to me like it doesn't necessarily prove that we are circling around the sun, but it certainly proves that the earth is a sphere. And
Wait, what? How does the moon lining up with the sun, solid objects or not, prove that the earth is a sphere? Wait, what?
the moon is circling around us, right? That, to me, again, that's just imminently observable.
Eminently observable? What? Okay, I don't know what level of English this guy's on, but clearly it's not very high.
Like I said, it could be a sphere. It does somewhat look like a sphere.
I mean, look at Harrison's face. Is he only thinking about the participation trophy he already got? So is that why there's this massive disconnect?
I'll just say, stars have been seen through the moon, it appears. I think that reality is way more mind-blowing than we know, and people think they have answers to everything, but really when you look under the hood, there aren't answers for everything. But if we kind of talk about that, if we use like Occam's razor, that which requires the least amount of assumptions is most likely to be true. Doesn't mean it is true. but we see the sun and the moon appear to be the.
I don't know if Austin's just keeping it simple here, but that's not Occam's razor. Occam's razor is if the theory with the least amount of assumptions, if the theory with more assumptions, the more complex theory can still be true if it matches. So it is not simply the least amount of assumptions. Still, and it's only to be used in case of two or however many theories are both equally explain something. So obviously the flat earth model and the globe earth model do not equally explain everything, regardless of which side you're on. So Occam's razor would only be invoked when there are two opposing theories that equally explain something. The one with the fewest assumptions should be used. The one with the simpler one should be used. The more complex one should be used. Occam specifically, explicitly stated that the more complex theory should be used if it more adequately explains something.
Same size. We have a night light and a daylight, and they're the same exact size in such an extent that we can get perfect total solar eclipses. Right. And they claim that that is just a coincidence based on the way that a Mars-sized body hit the Earth and broke it up, and a little piece of debris stuck around the Earth, and then gravity coalesced into a sphere that stopped around 238,000 miles away. And just coincidentally, the size of that rock matches up with the size of the sun optically, even though it's 400 times smaller than it is.
Right, that is the case, right? I mean, it is the same size prospectively as the sun,
but how would you know that's the case if you don't know the size or distance of the sun? I mean, this guy looked like he short-circuited shortly after the intro. Because it's like he can't even keep up with what Austin is saying, let alone rebut any of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're going downhill fast here.
Clearly, it's not on the same plane as the sun, since
clearly
it passes in front of it. So whatever that differential is.
Wait, how does something passing in front of something else demonstrate that it's on the same plane? What? 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 I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. It's on the same plane? I mean, you wouldn't even call it in the same... It doesn't even have to be in the same system. Like, if you take a transparent beach ball or whatever and put stuff in it, then you take 2 or 3 other transparent beach balls and just throw them randomly in your backyard. If you put your head level to them, some of them might line up from one beach ball to another beach ball in a completely different system. There could even be a tree in between some of them, but as long as part of it's still visible. How does that mean they're on the same plane? What?
It has to be, I mean, that is accurate, right?
Sure, but if it was just barely behind it, it would look like the same size. So they could be very similar distances in the same size, right?
Well, no, they'd have to be a little bit, because they are exactly the same size and different. And again, I don't think that just because the moon is a sphere, that means that I trust that they understand how it was created, or, I mean...
This guy completely missed the point Austin just made in his narcissistic spiral. I mean, he missed everything Austin just said. Because Austin just said they could be the same size. And he completely glossed over that. And talked about how they line up perfectly. Well, yeah, they could still line up perfectly if they're the same size, depending on what they are and how far away they are, relative to the human eye being able to see that. So he doesn't even understand the points Austin is making. So how can he refute something he doesn't understand?
The moon could be hollow for all we know. The whole, like, it rang like a bell when they crashed something into it. I mean, there have been...
All of a sudden, the moon can be hollow for all we know, but it can't be a projection. It can't be that. There can be a whole bunch of unanswered questions as long as it's solid. I mean, this is a unique kind of goofery. I have to give Harrison credit. This is a unique psychology and a unique kind of goofery in so-called debating here. It's me in the chat says he doesn't understand that he doesn't understand. Yes, I guess there's a certain amount of Dunning-Kruger here, but it's more like he didn't even try to understand, because he thinks he's already right because he's a narcissist. So it's almost like he never even listened to what Austin said in the first place. So he never even got to the position where he would think he understood. That's what it seems like to me in this, just psychologically analyzing him here.
Lot of stories. I don't think we know everything about the moon's entire life cycle, but I do think it's a sphere in the sky.
But why, though? Like, he never actually backs up anything. He just keeps talking about why he keeps talking about what he thinks, not why he thinks it. Is he really just this much of a simpleton? Like, does he not understand that in order to be logical, in order to utilize logic, you need a reason to believe something? Otherwise, the belief is not logical, if you're just randomly believing it. Because he hasn't given any support. He's just explained what he believed without explaining why or on what basis, while also clearly stating he's not a trust the science kind of guy.
Which, would hint that there are other spheres in the sky. It would hint that that's a possibility. It would make me question why the moon doesn't fall when everything else falls to Earth because of gravity.
But wait, why would a projection fall, though? What? And why would electromagnetic forces not affect matter when they are an innate property of matter? So, which this guy claimed he's not trained or educated in any of this. So why was he even asking this? Why is he even doing this debate in the first place? But why is he pretending that things don't explain it, which clearly do, which he admitted he knew nothing about, while also saying he knew everything? I mean, he's a unique kind of goof. You have to hand it to him. He's a unique kind of goof.
It would hint that either it's not affected by the force of gravity or it's being affected in a different way, which to me explains orbit pretty well, pretty succinctly.
Austin in the chat says, I was trying to say if we apply Occam's razor to the sun and the moon appearing to be the same size specifically, then obviously the explanation they're just the same size has the least amount of assumptions. Yes. Yes. If we're not assuming distances and sizes, if you're just looking at that. Yeah, that's true. Well, the issue is Harrison didn't really listen to anything Witsit said anyway. Because Harrison was kind of, in Harrison's mind, it seems like it was already irrefutable. The sizes and distances were already irrefutable, therefore it wouldn't be an assumption to assume size and distance. That appears to be the case in his, however, minimally processing mind. But yeah, I got you, Austin. Yes, that would be true.
I want to show a couple images here, because this again sort of illustrates to me that not only is the moon a sphere, but it's being lit by a light source that is extremely far away. We can go to some of the...
Wait, compared to what? Like, how would Harrison and his feeble mind, or anyone, how would you know how far the light source was, or how powerful it would be? And how would it look different if the sun was half the distance? If the sun was half the distance, would the moon, how would that affect the moon? Like, what's the base, like, how can he compare if he doesn't know what that would look like? Or if the sun was 5 times the size or 1/5 the size? Like, where's all the comparing and contrast? Like, how would you know if all you have is what you see up there? You don't have anything to compare it to.
Pictures called Ball and Moon. And there are a couple of these, but you can do it yourself. If you see the moon during the daytime and you hold a ball up, they have essentially the same shadow.
Okay, so Witsit did give his opinion on what was going on. Witsit says, I think Harrison was just reading his next scripted talking point every time I was speaking, to be honest. Yes. Well, not only that, it appears like he wasn't listening anyway, like regardless of anything. Like if that was the plan from the get-go, if he's intellectually dishonest anyway, there was never any plan before it even started to consider anything Austin was saying. That actually would explain, a few things. Although, I mean, he still made it a point to make his narcissism very obvious.
It will be cast on the ball as the moon because they're both being lit by the same source.
Wait, what? What? Okay, wow. Okay, I really don't want to spend like an hour on this because... so, if this could be a false premise. This is definitely a reductive logical fallacy by Harrison here. So a reductive logical fallacy is where you kind of pretend and presuppose there couldn't be other variables. Like, for example, opaque celestial bodies. I will put this on the screen. I know, just, again, I don't expect everyone to have watched all of my other podcasts, but this is also sourced directly from NASA and the establishment. I actually went over this entire video on the Lure Lodge analysis on whether or not eclipses prove flat or globe Earth or flat Earth. And of course, YouTube is being glitchy as usual, but I think I can get it. Wow. This is quite annoying. Okay, hold on a second. I will definitely get it on the screen. I basically have to copy paste the file, rename the file so it has different metadata, and then apparently YouTube... It's like YouTube keeps a record of everything. YouTube keeps a record of everything, so you have to create files with new metadata in order for it not to be on the list of what you can't show. So I have to constantly create. Maybe I shouldn't have just said that. They're gonna come up with an algo to block that as well. But there's a clip. Do eclipses prove flat Earth or globe Earth? So on the light spectrum, and this is straight from Hubble and straight from NASA, that on the light spectrum there are celestial bodies that are visible and not visible. So if, for example, Rahu, the black sun, if this is a body that is not visible to the human eye, it would still block the moon. We just wouldn't see it. So the phases of the moon could be related to other celestial bodies that we can't see. Again, I am not saying that this is the actual way that it works, but it could work that way. So if you're not committing reductive logical fallacies, you are not assuming that there are no other variables. Because, again, how often are there no variables, like ships disappearing over the horizon allegedly? Well, first of all, precipitation exists, waves exist. Then the true horizon is also not the apparent horizon. So there's always many variables in everything. So, train tracks look like they touch in the distance. That doesn't mean they actually touch because there are other variables. So again, here he's committing all these fallacies and even bringing up this example. Now, if you don't know how far or what size the sun is, or even the mechanics of how the light is even being emitted, then how would you be able to answer this question?
Which would be the sun, which would be extremely far away. So how would this happen without an extremely far away sun lighting both the ball and the moon?
Well, for one, they actually don't look entirely the same, right? You will actually see that there's a gradient of light on a
pretty
spherical
similar,
object.
Pretty similar. His appeal to similarity. Pretty similar. That means we ignore all variables.
They are somewhat similar.
Yeah.
Yes. That's how we made the model, right? We looked at the sky and then we created the model over hundreds of years. So of course it matches the sky. That's how we made it, the globe Earth model. But there could be a relationship between it being lit up, or there are many theories about it. Like everything, it could have an electromagnetic relationship. It could be charging up. It could all be within the same energetic cycle above us or whatever. I'm not even saying that they don't have a relationship. Many people have tried to, measure the moonlight and say it isn't high, and there's all debate about that and stuff. But this is kind of what I was talking about, though. I get that this is probably even a good faith, genuine question. That's how you want to know how everything works. And since we've been given all these alleged answers as to how it works, we think, well, flat Earth has to replace everything I was told is true. But not really. We see a star through the moon. What they said can't be true. Like we just saw that the moon looks blue during the day, and we showed a picture of the Earth from the moon, which was NASA came out and admitted they photoshopped one of those pictures and didn't tell the public about it. Right, just a second ago that was shown. So I guess what I'm saying is do you agree that if the radius of the globe is falsified, everything else is falsified? So as to a question like, how would the moon work on a flat Earth? I don't know, but it is because we measure.
Oh, wow. We got Feynman physics in here. You have a room full of people who have never learned relativity rapidity saying it is wrong. It's like writing a movie review without even watching the movie first. Wow. Wow. False premise to the max there. Not to mention straw manning. I mean, most of the people, at least myself and many people, have learned relativity quite extensively, first of all. Second of all, you have a world record academic Olympiad winner in Runzi Kao, who knows relativity probably better than just about anybody in the world, absolutely dismantling it, which was one of my bases for realizing how silly and easily debunked relativity is, because actually, you know what's quite ironic? What is actually incredibly ironic is Einstein himself, or a quote that is attributed to him: if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So Runzi Kao understands relativity so well that he literally taught it for many years. And I think he still does. I don't know if he specifically does, but he still teaches science and physics and many subjects, because this guy's an academic Olympiad winner in multiple, and one of the youngest, if not the youngest, in multiple different categories. And then he became a teacher, and he's got some of the best credentials. He explains relativity so simply, and then explains why it's so easily debunked so simply. Now, they're more complex. Obviously, Oleg J. Jeffimenko, one of the greatest mathematicians ever, clearly he understands math and relativity really well, certainly much better than you, but just judging by your fallacious comments in the chat here. So these are guys that absolutely demolish relativity, and they understand it extremely well. And then also the other fallacy you committed was a genetic logical fallacy by claiming that the source of the information is somehow relevant to whether the information is true or not. A movie review without watching the movie could still be accurate. Now, obviously, that's not a good idea, but again, you just committed a huge fallacy stack. So maybe hit the books, get back to children's level logic before stacking that fallacy deck further. Feynman physics in here. You should read Feynman's quotes about science as well.
The surface of the earth. I think that is the most important part. And I want to say this one more thing. When it comes to, you're right, it's like you can't look at the ceiling and say that's what the floor is, right? It's even more than that. It's if the earth is in the center of the entire universe, it would be illogical to think that it's like everything else. It's the only thing that's in the middle. Everything else was created to move around it, right? So that's an important distinction there. That most people don't point out. It would be illogical to say the earth should be like what's in the sky when everything in the sky moves around the earth. The earth is distinctly different, right?
Well,
So,
yeah, but again, we're dealing with
This guy's scrambling. but again, the dealing with yeah, his brain is totally fried. I have no idea what he's thinking here. I mean, he obviously already got his participation trophy, but I mean, it's like he knows he doesn't understand what Austin just said. And his narcissism won't allow him to admit that, possibly because he didn't even listen in the first place. But regardless, it's like he's scrambling to say something to not look stupid as opposed to have an honest conversation.
two forms of reality, the perception and the actual, right? So it looks like everything's circling around us, but that would also be the case if we were spinning. It would look like everything was circling around us.
Wait, why? Why wouldn't everything be crisscrossing? Hold on a second. I mean, this is tough. This is tough. Again, I don't know how old this guy is. I mean, wouldn't even a small child in elementary school understand that if you're sitting in the middle, I mean, even Duck, Duck, Goose, when people are going around you, there's no crisscrossing. Like, anybody who's played in Rem in the chat saying he don't know what he is thinking. He doesn't even know what he's thinking. That might be true. So, okay, even small children on the playground, when you're playing Duck, Duck, Goose, if everybody's sitting, one person's moving around, there's no crisscrossing. But if you're just observing everybody running in every direction, everybody's crisscrossing. So if the Earth were moving around the sun and everything wasn't specifically moving around the Earth, wouldn't all the star trails be crisscrossing? All the other celestial bodies be instead of just moving perfectly in concentric circles around the Earth? So wouldn't even a child that has ever played Duck, Duck, Goose understand this, and yet Harrison doesn't appear to understand this? So has Harrison just never played Duck, Duck, Goose? Is that the problem here?
That would mean it was circling around us. So it doesn't seem to me like there's any evidence that Earth is the center. I mean, what about the mapping of planets? Because I know.
So to him, it doesn't seem like there's evidence. Like, it's like he doesn't even care if there really is evidence or not. He only cares in relation to himself. I mean, again, the narcissism is so off the chart. I actually would not have guessed that somebody from InfoWars might have more insane narcissism than, Craig or Sartain or any of these other goofs. KK rep, Duck, Duck, Goof. Well, when we're dealing with some of these people. Yeah, so it is very, very curious. So he says it seems like there's no other. So he doesn't care whether there is or there isn't. So he doesn't care about the cosmic background radiation. He doesn't care about any of the scientific experiments or the science, and he hasn't studied it. As long as what it seems like to him, based on his feelings. I mean, there's definitely a lot of soy at play here. I think this guy's soy levels exceed Sartain's. Sartain's probably a juicer, so he might not have extreme soy. This guy clearly is so soy infused. I mean, Von Z says, is this the best InfoWars has? Sad AF. No, I don't think it's the best they have. I think if they were secretly trying to prop up Flat Earth, they sent the worst they had on purpose. This guy might be the worst they have. So, yeah, I mean, the level of goofery here, it's quite extreme. I think it might be related to soy. I really do. Shifty Eyes Shady saying soy wars. I mean, okay, no, because think about it. When you take Sartain, I think even Bryant Myers had less of a soy problem. I think Bryant Myers didn't have any testosterone, but his soy levels weren't skyrocketed either. Now, Sartain obviously has a lot of testosterone, maybe not a lot of soy. This guy doesn't seem to have much testosterone either, but the soy levels are very, very high. I don't know if they're higher than Soy Lodge, but they're both up there. They're both up there. So I think the soy is related to the narcissism because his soy levels are so through the roof, he's only concerned about his own feelings and emotions in relation to a topic instead of actual objective reality and truth, the scientific method, logic and reason itself. That might explain this.
So one of the things, again, we have an image of this motion of solar system planets relative to Earth. So basically this would be the orbital path that the other planets would take, Mars, Venus, you know, all these other planets. If Earth is assumed to be the center, and they're like, you know, spirals. They're like, they move around a lot.
I'll just leave this here while he's talking.
And if the crew can pull up that picture, motion of solar system, you can pull it up on my screen. So, you know, how do you explain these paths and this motion?
So he brought up some scribbles, and that's the best he has.
Without, you know, a force acting on the planets other than gravity. I mean, how do you have a planet going towards and away from us if they're circling around us?
That question doesn't even make any sense. Not only is it a begging the question, logical fallacy, circular reasoning, logical fallacy, false dichotomy, logical fallacy, reductive logical fallacy, false premise, logical fallacy stack. Wow, the new system is going to have a field day with this guy. That was just a quad stack right there, minimum. I mean, wow. Wow.
Well, there is a force. Automatically, there's some type of force, right? Because everything's moving around. If you look at a Ferrel cell image of a magnetic field, so it's just a creative invention that was made. You use two little pieces of glass, you put ferrol fluid and another fluid inside of it, line it with LED lights, and you can see the magnetic field. Right. It makes that exact same pattern. The torus field, sacred geometry, the golden ratio, that torus field, every one of those planets pass perfectly within a torus field.
Again, obviously, I think Austin is talking to the audience here because Harrison obviously is utterly clueless about sacred geometry and all of these occulted knowledge of all of this. I mean, you have the golden ratio, you have all these things that tie into spirituality because he's claiming there's no connection. So if he's just that ignorant, I mean, it's kind of hard for him to even speak on the topic. It's like trying to drag a paraplegic out of their chair to play some defense in a pickup basketball game. And I don't know if we should be too quick to blame Harrison here because also keep in mind, Craig of Fight the Flat Earth has the record. He had an 11 fallacy stack in a single statement. So far nobody's even come close to that. I think 4 or 5 is the next place, but Craig is able to stack 10 plus. 10 plus. He hit the 100x fallacy multiplier combo bonus. I mean, it was crazy. Okay. Wait, POGPY, are you asking for the 11 fallacies? I don't have that in a clip because we were still designing the new system when I was reviewing that. So that's on the new system podcast stream, which is like 12 hours. I can try to find the clip and clip it out, but yeah. Okay. So I don't know if we can blame Harrison here because all these people on the sidelines are cheering for the paraplegic to be pulled out of the chair to play defense on the basketball court. They're obviously not capable of doing it.
And of course, the heliocentric side's explanation for this is it's just a coincidence, which is pretty ridiculous because we see the same geometry everywhere.
But how can it match perfectly when each planet is a different path? I mean, they can't all match perfectly because they don't match each other.
Yeah, but within a torus field, there are multiple different.
Wow. It appears Harrison is either not listening because they don't match each other. Why would they have to match each? What? I mean, that's another huge stack, begging the question. False dichotomy, reductive logical fallacy, appeal to extremes. If they don't match each other, then they don't match at all. It has to be perfect. I mean, the level of goofery on display here, I mean, this is like free fall. Now, we were going downhill. I mean, we're going into free fall here. And I think Harrison's subconscious is betraying him because it's almost like he's just grasping at random statements here to not appear completely outclassed.
Different paths, right? So if you look at a rail cell image, and I could maybe pull it up, but if you look at a magnetic field, you're going to see that all of those patterns are in there individually. And basically, each one of these quote unquote planets are taking their own path within this torus field. They all fit within it perfectly. And you said that you don't see any evidence that the Earth's in the center. You are aware that the current model says you could never prove that the Earth's not in the center, and that all astronomical observations make it appear as if the Earth is in the center of the universe, but
Right.
that's just an illusion.
Well,
So
it's
it's a
an
reoccurring
illusion
theme.
it's the illusion because we're on Earth, and this is our only platform from which to observe space.
Wait, what? So he doesn't think they ever went to the moon and filmed anything from the moon? He doesn't think there's any satellites out there? So he doesn't believe in any satellites. He doesn't believe in anything outside of the Earth for observation. He doesn't believe they landed on Mars and that any of the Mars rovers have any videos. I mean, what? I thought he did believe in all that stuff. First of all. Second of all, even if you were on Earth, if everything was going around the sun and the Earth were spiraling through the universe and the entire galaxy was flying through the universe, again, you'd have crisscrossing star trails from Earth, clearly visible from Earth. So this kind of false premise stacking is very, very telling here. Because he doesn't comprehend anything being said. He obviously doesn't comprehend what logic is or what a logical fallacy is. He thinks, I mean, this is absolutely insane. So if you were from Earth, you would never be able to see if the Earth weren't the center? What? Like, why wouldn't you have crisscrossing star trails? Like, what would prevent seeing crisscrossing star trails from Earth if other bodies were rotating or moving in random directions?
Sure, and it gets a little bit more complex than that, though, because even like the distant galaxies moved in relation to the Earth, right? And so then that's when Edwin Hubble was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And they had to say the whole universe is accelerating and expanding in all directions to create that illusion. And then they're like, wait, what causes that to happen, though? There has to be some type of energy that would make it expand faster than the speed of light. And that's where you get dark energy, which is never been discovered, defined. It'll never be found. And then you have dark matter to fix the gravity problems. I will actually say you can use a Lorentz magnetic force to not get too technical, but it's pretty funny that you can show what's called a dynamic equivalence, meaning the way that the force makes objects move around each other from a geocentric universe. and it's a magnetic Lorentzian force. And what a coincidence, the patterns of the planets fit perfectly within a magnetic field's geometry. So it's more elegant, actually.
Okay, but none of that actually explains what the force is moving it or how it's set on this path. And the other thing is that you would also get paths that match up to.
Wait. Oh, man. We're going to have to split this into two-parter because I mean, this is tough. Harrison is really pushing this here. So everything works perfectly, but it doesn't explain why it works perfectly. That's what he just said. So, okay, think about this analogy here. Let's say you're in a hotel, and Harrison is saying, this hotel, all the rooms are perfect. Everything is perfect. And nothing disproves the perfectness. There's no crime. There's no nothing. And then Austin Witsit says, well, actually, there's all these dead bodies in all these rooms. And this other hotel is actually more elegant. All the rooms are actually clean. And Harrison's response is, well, yeah, but it doesn't prove how the dead bodies got in all those rooms. I mean, think about this for a second. Austin just clearly, again, whether true or not, just the response, Harrison's response here is very telling. Because Harrison didn't actually refute any of the individual points. He just asked, why would that, it doesn't prove why they're that way. Did everybody catch that? So again, if he's claiming he has this one hotel, all the rooms are perfect and clean, Austin actually said, well, they're actually not. There's dead bodies in a bunch of them. And then but this other hotel is actually clean and all the rooms are more elegant. Harrison's response wasn't disputing the bodies that Austin pointed out. Again, I'm not claiming anything is true or untrue. I'm just, look at Harrison's response. His response was, yeah, well, you don't know how all the dead bodies got there. I mean, not only is that a huge, gigantic goalpost move, but I mean, I'm even having trouble logging all the fallacies here because it's almost like that would also be a non sequitur, a diversion fallacy as well, and because he completely shifted to, well, it doesn't prove why it's like that. Now, if what Austin said was false, he could have addressed the points and why or why not they're false. But he actually didn't dispute what Austin said there. He said it doesn't prove why it's that. So, I mean, again, that's like saying, oh, okay, maybe there are a whole bunch of dead bodies in all these rooms in the hotel, but it doesn't prove how they got there. As if that has anything to do with the original point.
This, if you were to take a Mars-centric model and plot the movement of the planets as if Mars was the center, you would get the same patterns. I mean, it's like...
Wait, what? If Mars was the center, the rest of the bodies would still move as they move. In relation to Mars. Well, what does that have to do with anything? I would call what he's doing the narcissistic fallacy because, I mean, I guess you could call that appeal to emotion, but it's not even a real appeal to emotion because it's not appealing to other people's emotions. It's not saying, oh, you know, you don't like guns, you want children to die, how dare you be so heartless. It's not that. It's only appealing to his own emotion. It's not a true appeal to emotion fallacy. So I would say we have to coin a new fallacy just for Harrison, the narcissistic fallacy, the feels over reals fallacy.
One of those little toys that has the gear and you put the pencil in and spin the gear around and it creates the pattern. It doesn't matter which hole you put it in, it creates a similar pattern that will look on the face of it similar to like the torus field or the magnetic field. But that would be true if you plotted the motion of the Earth relative to Venus or Mars or Jupiter or any other planet. Earth is not the only one that plotting the rest of the planets creates this this design.
But Earth is the only body in the middle of the cosmic background radiation, though.
So that again is not evidence that Earth is in the center. It's evidence that Earth is on the circular path that all the other planets are on, because that's what matches perfectly.
It's like it's weird. He doesn't even really appear. It matches what perfectly? Like, what? Is he saying anything will always match anything perfectly? What? Or is he pretending only the heliocentric globe it matches perfectly? Again, ignoring all the cosmic background radiation of his own scientism cult, while pretending he's not in the scientism cult.
Well, it's not just about the paths; it's about distant galaxies, right? So you're right. You can match it on any planet or whatever, and you could treat it as if it's in the center. Certainly, with relativity, it says it's all equally valid. You can choose anything as the center. But this is a little different than that. They looked out into deep space, quote unquote, and saw the galaxies moved in relation to the Earth. They should not have been. In this model, the Earth is tucked away in an insignificant corner of the universe. It is a random, non-unique position. Everything should be moving every which direction in relation to, say, the singularity of the Big Bang or whatever people believe in, not the Earth. But they discovered it was. So it's not as simple as just I can put the coordinate system anywhere. It's that the universe has to be accelerating and expanding away from every other point. There is no center, and everything just makes the Earth look like it's in the center, although you could map it out both ways.
I don't know if, in the chat people are saying Austin just dumbed this down, not just for Harrison, but for all the viewers. I don't know if he specifically is referring to the cosmic background radiation right here in what he's saying. Maybe he should have given a direct reference and source, but I mean, Harrison probably would ignore it anyway. But I would have asked Harrison, no, what do you think of this source? Like, what do you think of the actual cosmic background radiation detected multiple times that shows the Earth as the center? Like, what would the goof do when put on the spot in that specific situation?
But that's not the proof. First of all, it's on its face. All observations show the Earth in the center. So to say it's not in the center, you're going to have to prove that. Then we went and looked further, and even the distant galaxies show that.
But I mean, there is the heliocentric model that maps everything and
Wait, his response to all that, but there is the heliocentric model. And what does he mean by maps? By theorizes? I mean, it's one thing to measure cosmic background radiation or claim to measure. It's a whole other thing than just to plot things on a map and say they're true. I mean, Harrison definitely seems to have not thought this out very well. Does he know he's a sacrificial lamb here or not?
explains everything really well.
He just keeps going to this reification fallacy, which is also a false premise because it doesn't explain everything well, but he just keeps going ad nauseum. Repetition fallacy.
And you can make predictions based on it that are proven out in observations.
What observations? Non-crisscrossing star trails? What? While conveniently ignoring the cosmic background radiation observation from, or at least the claimed cosmic background radiation data.
So, to say that everything centers around the Earth, obviously the heliocentric model is not centered on the Earth.
Well, obviously, because it's called the heliocentric model, but is there any basis? Is he laughing at himself here? Is his subconscious realize how silly he sounds? I mean, is that what this is? Because it's almost like he's laughing at himself. Does he have a split personality? I have to invoke the split personality theory again. Because if there's a split personality theory and one of his personalities has some kind of fetish for humiliation and is forcing him to do this, that would explain a few things as well.
And that's on a very small scale.
Wait, the heliocentric model's on a small scale? What? Is anybody still following what's coming out of Harrison's mouth?
You could say the whole solar system revolves around, or the whole universe revolves around the Earth, but at least in our solar system, it makes a lot more sense that things circle around the sun. I mean, the math.
How so?
It makes a lot more in that regard.
The math makes more sense. How so? How does the math make sense? The cosmic background radiation math doesn't show that. I mean, none of the ancient cosmologies shows that. I mean, they're building pyramids with shadows of serpents during eclipses and solstices. I mean, how does it make more sense? Like, how? He just keeps saying these things, but he never actually defends any of his claims.
If you assume that the sun is 93 million miles away and this huge ball of gas in a vacuum, if you assume the size of it and then you assume gravity, which is that, you know, the bigger the mass, the more gravitational pull, which isn't even considered a pull or force anymore because that doesn't work. But
Joyce B in the chat saying, "Oh yes, perhaps it's Duper's delight. Maybe Harrison truly does not believe the positions he's putting forth." Yeah, that'd be curious if InfoWars as a whole, they were a bunch of flat earthers, but they didn't want to lose a ton of viewers so they had to pretend they were globe earthers, but defended it so poorly as to increase flat earth membership. That's possible.
that's actually not true either. The heliocentric model doesn't work. I mean, this is why we have dark matter.
Though.
It doesn't work because this is.
It does, though, is his argument. His argument is it does, though.
Why we have dark matter.
No, but these aren't even arguments. Shifty Eye Shady saying with the worst argument. These aren't even arguments, though. I mean, that's appeal to invincible ignorance fallacy, which is basically nuh-uh. Ad nauseum. I don't know if that's Duper's delight. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's his subconscious or one of his personalities just flat out laughing at his gopher.
So there are certain aspects of it that, you know, we haven't figured out yet, but the stuff we have figured out works extremely well.
The stuff who figured out? The establishments he said not to trust? Wait, what? Who figured out what and how?
All right.
No. In 1933, a guy named Fritz Zwicky went and looked at galaxies, and he saw that this coma cluster, so a cluster of galaxies, it was off by 99% the amount of mass it was supposed to have for gravity to be true. And so they just said, oh, well, just plug in a number for missing mass. Now they call that missing mass dark matter, and it's still there, and it makes up 83% of the entire universe. This model isn't even close to working. Gravity is off by 83%. How bad does your theory have to be before it's considered wrong? Right?
Well, you know, my theory actually, you know.
Look at how much of a narcissist he is. My theory. His own personal theory. Not heliocentrism. His own personal theory. Even though he's not trained or an expert or learned in any of these things, even he doesn't even care about the scientific arguments, yet he still has his own theory. Does he even know what the word theory means?
Has the possibility of distant galaxies. Where are the distant galaxies in the firmament? I mean, how can you even make this argument if...
Wait, what? Make what argument? Austin was correcting him on his, because he doesn't know the heliocentric globe model. Austin was correcting him. Now he's saying, well, the flat earth model with the firmament doesn't even have galaxy. Well, why would it? Like, if somebody lives in the Sahara Desert and they're claiming that deserts are real, and then he's like, yeah, well, your model doesn't even have snow. Your model doesn't even have ice. Like, you can't be in a desert because you don't even have snow in the desert. Well, there's no claim of snow or ice in that particular desert. But look at Harrison's face. It's like he doesn't even understand the begging the question, false dichotomy, false premise, reductive logical fallacy, diversion fallacy he just used here, and strawman. I mean, that was like a quint stack easy. That was a quint stack easy.
Space doesn't exist. Does space exist?
No, outer space as defined, right, doesn't exist. But just like Edwin Hubble said, everything...
The main issue here is that Harrison doesn't know either model. So then Austin has to spend all this time correcting him on the model he claims is true, while also claiming he's not a trust the science guy and you shouldn't trust the establishment.
It could be much more local, and the medium could be much more dense. And then he said, and might I add, suspiciously young. See, they have a bias against this because it creates special position for the Earth, and it makes the universe younger. It makes it a closed system, and it means everything's moving around it. And they will tell you in all their literature that it's just a philosophical bias. They don't want to believe that, and that's not a straw man. That's what they say, right? They say it up straight. You can never disprove the Earth in the center. But the best way to do it is to, if the Earth is moving around the sun, 66,600 miles per hour, conveniently enough, you should be able to measure that, right? And we have interferometry that was supposed to measure it, and it did not. And we've done it since then. The Earth is not moving. It's been falsified. So Einstein came in and said, oh, well, the device you were using to measure actually shrank. You just couldn't tell.
I mean, this level of goofery wouldn't be accepted anywhere except in the cult of scientism, where it's constant revisionism and post hoc logical fallacies, where they just keep changing everything to continue to fit the theory. I'm just going to put another image on the screen, which I think summarizes everything Austin is talking about here. If the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. Obviously, they're not real facts, but this seems to be this seems to be what Harrison is operating off of. Just a lot of goofery here. A lot of goofery.
And then time slowed down and created the illusion that we are stationary and you can't measure us moving. That's mainstream claim, is that the ruler shrank effectively, you just can't tell, and time slowed down, it just appears to be the same time to you,
Right.
and therefore you could never prove that the Earth is moving. Or, of course, just the Earth isn't moving, and all observations showing us what's really happening. Right?
So
Well,
that-
and
okay,
we
but-
weren't told any of this.
But then that would mean that if the Earth's not moving, then the stars are moving. The sun is circling around us again. So I get. So we've.
Wait, so he thinks stars don't move? So, but aren't the galaxies the stars are in moving? So, does he not understand any of the models of the heliocentric globe universe either? Because solar systems are not stationary either within the universe. So does he not know that? I mean, that's weird. That's kind of fifth grade. What is that? Fifth grade? Fourth grade? I mean, what grade do you learn that in? I mean, that's pretty basic.
A firmament dome around a flat Earth. I mean, what? I mean, you don't actually have a model, right? So, what is your conception of what Earth is? I mean,
you know what's crazy? He's even when he's talking to Witsit, it's all through a narcissistic lens. It's like he doesn't care what the truth is. He wants to know what Witsit's conception is instead of the actual truth. So even when he's not talking about it himself, he's viewing everything through a narcissistic lens, as if everyone else is as much of a narcissist as he is. It's like he has a natural presupposition that everybody must think as he does through a narcissistic lens. I mean, that's very telling there. He doesn't want to know what the truth is. He wants to know what Austin's personal conceptions are.
again, my conception of Earth is not exactly super scientific. Like, I don't know all of the details of it.
Or any of the details? Does he not know that solar systems move in the heliocentric globe model?
But it makes perfect sense. Earth is spinning.
Wait, how does it make perfect sense? Just more reification fallacy?
Tilted axis, moon
Any evidence of that?
orbiting us, we orbit the sun, other planets also orbiting the sun. I mean, all of that makes perfect sense. Do you have any semblance of a model for flat Earth at all?
I mean, okay, in a planetarium, everything makes perfect sense, right? You have this projection going around this projection. I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Like, that's the way it works. The machines work. You can go there and observe them working. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, sure. So it's a torus field, just a torus field, and that explains pretty much everything. I could pull up an image. I don't know if that's possible, but
Yeah.
a Farrell cell image of a torus field will show. You can just Google Farrell cell image magnetic field. You'll see a bunch of them. It's just a torus field, and there's a vortex in the middle. And what a coincidence! You take the magnetic flux data of the Earth, you put it on a flat Earth map, and you get a perfect vortex around the center.
Big Point Sailing says, anything makes perfect sense if you ignore all details. And logic, and science, and spirituality, like Harrison admitted to in the opening.
You take the planets and you fit them within the torus field. It's perfect. So,
But it gets even worse, because not only did Harrison admit all that, but he also said he's not a trust the science guy and don't trust authorities or establishments. So it's actually kind of crazy.
and of course they claim
It's not perfect. I mean, you can bring up the image, but it doesn't match perfectly.
How does he know if he doesn't know the details of anything? So how would he know whether it matches or not if he doesn't actually know any of the details? Well, not only that, I don't know any of the details, but it makes perfect sense. And he doesn't know any of the details about that flat Earth model, but it doesn't but it doesn't match, even though he doesn't know any of the details on why it wouldn't match.
Generally looks somewhat like it, but because magnetic fields,
It looks like he's really struggling with just basic English, and Austin looks so done with him here. I mean, this guy's struggling with first grade English and maybe even third grade science concepts. Like, he doesn't think so he doesn't think solar systems move, and stars within their solar systems are not flying through the universe. I mean, he doesn't even grasp that. That's kind of weird.
Visualized match the magnetic field of Earth. I mean, that's not even so. I mean, is this your model, or
that's not even what he didn't finish his sentence there?
I mean, that Earth is round, so that can't be it, right?
No. This is a flat Earth. Ironically, this is actually the ISS trajectory on the left. This right here and this is a Farrell cell image of a magnetic field.
Right.
All of these patterns fit perfectly within that. And then there's also this. This is the magnetic flux data of the magnetic field on the Earth. It all fits perfectly within what we see in a magnetic field. And then this is called a block domain wall. It's a plane.
Well, are you
goes right through the middle. We live on that.
I'm just not seeing the images that you're pulling up. So if we can, if you can share your screen, I just want to make sure we know what you're talking about exactly.
Sorry, yeah, I am sharing screen on Skype right now, but I don't know if you can see it.
All right, we'll figure that out. We have about 2 minutes to break, but we'll work that out with the crew during the break here. But what?
So InfoWars, this giant platform, can't even sort out technical details on their own platform, because this isn't YouTube. They're on their own platform that they control, and they can't even sort that out. That's weird.
I got some more images I want to show you. Again, I really just don't think that saying Earth is a torus field. I mean, that's not a physical description of where we are or how the world is composed.
Wait, what? Oh, man. I'm glad there's only 2 minutes to the break here, because I'm having trouble. I'm just a mortal man here. But this is so tough. It's just fallacy stack over fallacy stack. But it's a narcissistic fallacy stack. So it's very difficult. I mean, I'm just doing objective play-by-play here. I'm just calling it how I see and hear it. And he moved so many goalposts. He spammed so many non sequitur and red herring fallacies. reductive logical fallacies. I mean, it's just so tough here because he's not addressing anything said while spanning fallacies to justify a position he himself you shouldn't have based on trust, yet he's not supporting it with anything.
The universe is composed. I mean, is there a firmament? What is underneath us? Are we on a flat plane? Is there a map you can present to me that makes any sense at all? Is Antarctica an ice wall, or is it a continent that exists? I mean, what is the actual argument? Saying that it's a magnetic or torus field that's not actually a physical description of where we are.
Well, shouldn't we apply the same logic that we do with everything else that we look into as truthers? Like, basically our critique is that we're not a cult of thought. You're right. We all think for ourselves, and we're all trying to figure out what's going on. And there was a cultish belief system presented to us that you're not allowed to question without being ridiculed, right? But like,
it's really like Harrison just doesn't understand that falsification is independent of replacement. He doesn't understand deductive reasoning, critical thought, or basic logic, because he keeps asking for the replacements. Like, he's just not understanding.
What's beneath us? I don't know. What's beneath you on the globe? The deepest hole ever dug is 7.8 miles. No one knows what's below 8 miles. No one. And the globe model admittedly can't even explain it mathematically within their model with supercomputers. And, well, what is Antarctica? You can't freely and privately explore past the 60th south latitude. We effectively live in a real life Hunger Games. Like, that's a real thing, whether you think there's a globe or not. You can't freely and privately go out there. And
his response is laughter.
And that's based on what our government did in 1946. They brought
He's talking. An InfoWars host is laughing at that the UN restricts I mean, think about that for a sec.
Nazis over in 45, Operation Paperclip. 46, Operation High Jump. We went to Antarctica, and then we considered Antarctica our number one focus.
All right,
And
we'll be right back. We'll pick it up with Antarctica on the other side.
We'll be right back after he got decimated completely.
Austin Witsit, the debate continues in the next hour. Stay with us.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to call it here. Just, we've been going for about almost 4 hours now. A very unique kind of goofery. I have to hand it to him. The psychological breakdown on Harrison, quite unique. He has absolutely no support for anything and admits he doesn't understand anything about any of this, while also claiming to have done all the research and knowing everything. While also claiming he's not a trust the science guy and that establishments shouldn't be trusted. This is unique. We've never seen anybody debate like this before. At least we can say that. So that's it for now. I will see if I'll try to get part 2 done tomorrow just to keep this as close together as possible. But thanks again for all the MindShock listeners joining us. If you want to help support the MindShock podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it's quickly going extinct, even on InfoWars, as we're just saying here, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the chat that way. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.